You're tuned in to Beltway Radio and beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is Chip Chat. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
Man, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Hop Slam.
Starting off strong.
Yeah.
Starting off strong.
Hop Slam puts the slur in.
Yes. I think that's the, yeah.
That's the official tagline.
I think that's it.
Bells, you know where to find us.
Loses your memory.
That could already be gone.
Woo!
Well, it's another Thursday. We're here.
It is another Thursday. This is a special edition of Chip Chat.
Yes.
Hey,
don't shake your head at that.
I don't know if anybody's ever going to pick up on that, but it's funny to us.
Yeah, it's super funny.
Our guest this week is you, Tez.
Yeah.
You're our guest.
I knew.
Mostly because I can put whatever I want in the script and be pretty confident you won't read it.
Yeah, but I didn't.
But you did read that because it was in the second sentence of the...
I read through this twice today.
Did you?
2 times.
It's like a record.
And I read it all on my phone, which has now prepared me for where we're at tonight, because no computer.
Good on you. For real, it's just a very busy news week.
Yes.
And we didn't want other people talking over us while we explain the news, which is an insane thing. This is, normally we have newsy weeks. There's never not a newsy week.
Right.
This is such a newsy week that tonight, the United States and a quote-unquote commercial venture paid entirely by NASA, so I don't know how it's commercial, landed a thing on the moon. For the first time in 50 years, there's an American robot on the moon sticking a flag in, claiming that shit back.
Oh, God.
From whoever else. India, I guess, is the other one that recently got something that they did land something, but we zapped it with a laser to prove that we could.
Oh, God. Careful.
No, it was a friendly laser.
Okay, friendly laser.
It was one of those things where it's like, hey, we want to see if we can find something really small. And India's like, hey, we've got something really small on the moon. Would you like to try to bounce your laser off of it? And NASA was like, we'll definitely do that. So they pointed their mirror up, and NASA pointed their laser at it from 1 billion miles away. And it fucking worked.
Good cooperation between nations.
Way to go.
More cooperation.
Yeah, you know why? They were on with tech support. It's an Indian
tricky.
Probe.
That's tricky there.
I don't know where we're going with that.
Oh, God, okay.
That's funny, ha-ha.
Huh?
All right, anyway, yeah, so we have a special list time that I didn't even have to write this week. Putin is killing everybody. Hopefully Tucker is next.
Well, not us.
Well,
look,
we did have a listen in Russia last week.
I see.
The intern's back on the job. That poor kid.
Yeah, look, they knew where they would find
the real news.
The real news.
None of that fake news.
The salacious news.
Fake news CNN.
Yeah, fake news CNN.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got a Republican rundown. Alabama's got everyone so upset. That was a Nina Simone joke. That's good, right? Alabama's got me so upset. Yeah. A whole bunch of other stuff. There is so much going on that we don't even have time to talk. We're going to be off next week.
That's really helpful because I was going to put in my PTO because I go into a wedding on Thursday.
We're off next week.
Somehow it just works out.
For Leap Day, which means we don't have time to tell you that the government is going to shut down the day after we're off.
Yeah.
Because there's no bill and there's only 3 days, working days, for the House to get that together and none for the Senate. So, great.
Plans are, which cost some odd, like the amount of productivity in dollars it costs for them to start planning for shutdown. I forgot the exact number.
It's terrible.
It's just that it's
every like herky jerky almost shutdown costs the government billions of dollars.
It's a lot of money.
It's a bad way to do things, which is why Marjorie Taylor Greene likes it. She told a Sky News reporter to kiss her ass this week.
Yes, I did hear that.
That was pretty good. Way to focus on NATO. All of that is not going to be covered tonight.
Can't do it.
There's too much else to talk about.
Right.
What's the line? Ain't nobody got time for that?
At all.
It's just crazy.
Ukraine is losing.
Also, it's the 2-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when we were all like worried about that and they were running like Sky News overnight on MSNBC and we were all like waking up every couple hours to check and see if the world was over. And now it's,
Russia's making gains. They're taking stuff back.
They took a city. A small little city.
Okay, we can say what we want. You know what's not small? The money is not coming through the folks there on Capitol Hill. But
you do just gotta wonder why. And at some point, the answer is P-tape. That is the answer to most whys.
There's going to be news, though, that's going to run. It's going to be news every week up until...
The P-tape.
Well,
the P-tape is real. It's coming.
Oh, God gracious, yeah. You hit the bell.
I didn't even mean to do that.
I know you didn't. I just saw the way you ran through that one.
Yeah, just sort of built up to it, and it's a climax. All right, anyway... you got a word?
Hey, wasn't it supposed to talk about the Metro?
The Metro.
Yes,
yeah,
it's okay.
The bus.
I was gonna let it run into.
Well, we were
gonna. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we can do this. This will be our first part of the before we hit our word. Then.
All right.
Tez, tell us your bus story.
So, I was going down to Gallery Place to pick up.
Formerly Chinatown.
Still Chinatown, I guess.
China Block,
yes.
Yeah.
Was going down there to pick something up. Now, mind you, stores alert you when they need something, gotta go pick it up. And I was like, oh, awesome. So I went down there.
Right.
I got there and they were like, we're closed for a special event. Okay.
Why did you send me the text saying come pick up my item?
All right. So I go ahead, I leave, and I walk to the station. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take the bus home because it'll drop me off closer. So I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for the 70 or the 79, which is the express bus. And I'm sitting outside, and I'm just like kind of just chilling. The bus is probably like 3 minutes away. And then like I start coughing. And I'm like, I just like coughing uncontrollably. My eyes are like watering.
It is that part of town. It kind of smells like coughing. So,
right. And then I like, am I losing it? And I look up, and everyone around me, eyes watering.
They're all coughing.
And I'm like, what
you
is
just got tear gas.
Basically. So, and there's a big vent right there on 7th and H where the bus stop is.
Yeah.
Everybody was up there. Nothing was happening there.
But something down below.
In the station had to be happening.
Yeah, like the brakes on a car were burning or something like that.
But no, this was definitely pepper spray.
Oh, okay.
So I think so. And so but this is in my mind, right? But I'm like, at this point, I'm like, trying to toughen it out because
the cops sprayed somebody down.
The bus is coming, right? And I'm like, all right, whatever. But as I look up, transit police is running towards it. I'm like, and then there's this gentleman there who's obviously had enough of all this in the scene. He's like, you're always too fucking late. Look at y'all, you're late now. You're too late. And they're running, and I'm like, well, obviously something has happened downstairs.
Yeah.
It's come up through the vent. And then he said, and then as I'm looking at them, he said, and look at this fat motherfucker. And I'm looking at the fat guy, his fat transit police. I don't know if we still say that anymore, but he was fat. And he was running, and it was just so picturesque, because I was like, well, you see these guys to be late. This man seems to be correct.
He's accurate.
All right, whatever. That's not
like
even
the Marv Albert of bus stops.
Nah, exactly.
He's just calling the play as he sees it.
That's not even it. I now get on the bus. That's just the prequel. That's just how it starts, right? So then we get onto the bus, and I'm on the bus, and I sit down. There was one seat there. There's a dude sitting next to me, and the bus is filling up. These are the same people who've been pepper sprayed. So people are like, what? Their eyes, people's got tears in their eyes. And the bus keeps getting filled up, and like I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, yo, this is kind of like, what's going on? Dude gets on the bus with his 2 kids. I'm like, yo, you can have this seat, because like, come on now, like I've been in his position,
right?
Whatever. The dude next to me realizes that and gets up as well. Now the bus is just filled, but everybody is standing close to the front of the bus because everybody's afraid to go to like the back of the bus. So there's all this room in the back of the bus, but everybody's bottlenecked before the back door.
And you're like, why?
And I'm observing this, but I always have seen this, because usually when I'm in that situation, I'll just walk to the back of the bus and stand there. Yes, is it kind of uncomfortable because you're just kind of standing around, everybody crouched, but it makes sense, right?
Get it?
No one else is doing this. There's a dude in the back who's like, he's gotten up to I think I started the chivalry train on the bus because other people started getting up and giving people seats. Awesome. But then this guy obviously notices this as well too, but takes it to a different level. He's going to get off at a stop, and he's making his way, instead of going out the back door, through the front of the bus, screaming at the people, why won't y'all move to the fucking back? Yo, why won't y'all, there's all this room. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right, but this is a terrible way to go about this. And people are just like unfazed looking at him like, no, we're going to keep standing here.
I get it if like you're only riding 2 or 3 stops or something like that, you might stay closer to the doors.
Understood,
but otherwise, if you're on for the ride, man, get to the back.
The guy was in the right.
He's right.
He's right. With his delivery, wrong. Now, as I'm sitting back there watching this, another gentleman is now upset to, you don't tell me what the fuck to do. I'm going to stand here. And they're going back and forth as one is exiting the, and I'm just sitting here. I have a meeting that I'm supposed to be getting on at 4:30. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, maybe I should have a car to avoid this. And maybe Brian is right about all this metro.
Don't say that.
No, obviously I don't believe that, but yeah, I just had one of those moments where I was like...
So what happened at the end of the philosophical conversation between the 2 gentlemen at the front of the bus?
The bus door closed and the bus kept moving. Which is usually the best option.
Yeah, how it usually
works.
Usually
the best option. Because, you know, the other man is saying, get off the bus. And no one's go. Everybody, we're going to talk.
I mean, they're kind of both right. Don't tell me what to do. But also,
and this guy did not have to walk from the back of the bus.
Yeah, he was making a point.
He was making a point, which the point I do agree with.
Yes.
I should just start taking the bus more and giving, like...
you could be like that guy Kokomo who rides the bus and just sings.
Well, I mean, I think that lane is already covered because people.
No,
are
but you could be like
time.
You could be the bus, I don't know, philosopher.
Yeah, just to talk to people. Don't want to hear my
bus
shit.
Socrates.
I already look crazy sometimes on the bus with like a coffee in my hand and I'm wearing a fucking cardigan. Like I'm not fucking. I don't
think that looks crazy.
I looked around and I was the only one sitting there like, okay, everybody else is using. Like I'm just kind of like leisurely using the bus. All these other people look like they're like hard workers.
They're going to work
to go do stuff, and I'm just sitting out here looking like I'm not.
You're just lounging about.
I'm lounging about, taking up a good seat on the bus.
I mean, you're the public in the public transportation. You should be entitled to that.
Yeah, I know, and also we need express bus that is.
We need bus rapid transit. We need a dedicated bus lanes so that we can put the double long buses and they can move lots of people quickly in and out so that the regular buses aren't jammed full of people yelling at each other from the back of the bus.
Which I get why. It's a frustrating experience. And like if you've already come off like a hard day at work and you get on, I can see where all this is like
all that pressure.
Ready to explode. So powder keg ready to explode. But
plus everybody got pepper spray.
Yeah, exactly.
About 10 minutes before
I got on it. Right, that is the beginning of this story.
Yeah.
Which would have been
the whole story.
That would have been my metro story if I had went to take the train.
Right.
Because I would have
been in the cloud of pepper spray down under 7th Street.
I legit started coughing and was just like, why? I was trying to hold it. I was like, because it's illegal to cough.
Yeah, you're not allowed to cough.
I'm not allowed to cough. So I was like, trying to hold, I can't help myself. And I'm just like, oh my God, why am I crying? Oh, this is pepper spray. Wild day.
Well, congratulations on having been so long since you've been pepper sprayed that you didn't recognize it immediately.
Yeah.
Those of us that were actually marching for civil rights had gotten pepper sprayed recently enough we would have noticed.
That's a true story.
But I hope you enjoyed your time on the couch.
No, I can't even share that story on here. You're more spot on for wrong reasons than you know.
We'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. People who know will just like, oh God. Anyways, moving on.
I haven't been sprayed by the federales in at least a couple of years.
That's a good.
So that's pretty good.
Good number.
Yeah, it wears off after a while. Yeah. All right. Do you have a word?
Yes, I have a word.
Okay. I've got a word. Let's see if it works.
All right.
So sit back, grab some
seats.
It's burrito time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping out?
All right, so this is list time. It's time for list time, but we got to set the scene a little bit.
Yes.
One of the things that you might know about the modern political landscape is that there's a reality and then there's Fox News. And when we say Fox News, that's just shorthand for like the right-wing media ecosystem. It isn't just Fox.
They're probably lean on the side of closer to, I don't know.
They're closer to reality maybe than Newsmax.
Yes,
but
they're
not
further
saying much.
Yes, exactly. They're closer, but closer in the sense
that's
of light
like
years
saying
away.
that we here in Washington are closer to Lincoln, Nebraska than Beijing, which is true.
Yes, that's exactly.
But we're nowhere near Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So they are in Fox News world, in the right wing, right? There is this whole series of things happening that nobody else can see because they aren't happening. And because they're not. It's you have children.
Yes.
I own several children. One of the things that's interesting about watching kids play is watching them create whole worlds.
Oh my God! Yeah,
and they go, pretend this is that, and they go, okay, and they instantly agree. And
so many multi-level universes they have. It's
like watching the best dungeon master in the history of D&D, and they're just creating and creating and creating.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what Fox News is like. They're just making up shit, and one says one, and the other one goes, okay, and then they just believe it, and it's true
until they get sued.
Until they have to go to court.
Yeah.
That's going to show up later in the show. So, what happened in the real world is nothing. But what happened in Fox News world is that Joe Biden is somehow some mafioso super criminal masterminding
all of Europe.
He's controlling all of Europe and maybe some of Venezuela and China and like massive swaths of the globe. And he's doing it all while also simultaneously being too old, tired, and stupid to be
this is anything. A good point. I didn't even. Yes.
These two things are happening at the same time on Fox News.
They are capable of thinking two things at once.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, wow. I'm shocked. So, going down that road, one of the things that they convince themselves of is that there is this bribery scandal in which Joe Biden is the recipient of various bribes from corrupt Ukrainians. You see how this is getting crazy already. Vis-a-vis his son and cocaine and maybe porn.
And I think because with all of these, right, the only way that these conspiracies are able to run are due to what is true, right? So, like, what is true in that situation there?
Hunter Biden did sit on the board of an energy company called Burisma.
Right.
That is true.
That is true. And prior to, like, even what's happening in Ukraine now, there have been, like, way before Zelensky, there have been charges of, hey, you know what? There is corruption that happens there. So, like, if someone said to me, hey, we think that there's corruption that has happened in Ukraine, I'd be like, okay. Cool.
That's true.
That's true.
It's true.
But again, it's how this gets spun from these kernels of truth into like these grand conspiracies that don't make any sense.
It's not just that they're grand conspiracies, but this will also show up a little bit later in the show, that one of the main tools of the modern Republican Party is when somebody that is on their side is doing something, the best solution they have is to accuse the other side of doing exactly that. So when Joe Biden was vice president,
right,
he was working to root out corruption in Ukraine, and he was pressuring them to fire particular prosecutors who were not tough enough on corruption. And in the Fox News world, it's that he wanted this guy fired to protect his corrupt son, which is not what happened and is like verifiably untrue.
Right.
Okay. Speaking of verifiably untrue, there is currently an impeachment inquiry going on in MAGA Mike Johnson's House of Representatives, spearheaded by the two Jims, Comer and what's that Ohio motherfucker's name?
Oh God,
Jordan. Okay. And they're both out here running these parallel investigations into what they call the Biden crime family, and they are overwhelmingly relying on the testimony of somebody who they have gone out of their way to proclaim as the most credible witness ever.
Right.
And if you watch Fox News, you'll hear them lavishing praise, well, for weeks, on this guy. He's an FBI informant. He's multilingual. I don't know why that somehow makes him more credible, but they love to point that out. He's a God-fearing Christian and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah.
Multilingual, they like people from other nations. Now.
That's, or he's multi-tongued. That's also what that word means. Yeah. Don't know what that. Yeah. Okay, so the most recent example is that this guy, whose name is Alexander Smirnov,
obviously trustworthy.
Like right out of a James Bond book, he's Alexander Smirnov. Oh yeah, totally. And like Natasha Borenstein or whatever. Like, come on. It's a Rocky and Bullwinkle kind of.
Where's my post-war book?
Yeah, right. Did you finish your 800 page? Yeah, you're on your other book now. All right, so their most recent example is that Alexander Smirnov, whom he's the one who they said has all this stuff. As it turns out, he's been indicted by the government. He claimed that Biden's son Hunter took $5 million in bribes. Turns out, actually, that was a lie. He totally made that up. And not only did he make it up, but he was working for the Russians when he was making it up. So he was feeding the FBI bullshit information. And the FBI let him keep feeding the bullshit information so that they could find the source.
Exactly.
Which is what the FBI likes to do. They'll keep somebody on the payroll for as long as they can get the info to get to the thing that they want to get to. But that didn't stop the gyms. The gyms took this guy's word as truth, started their investigations. Well, he's been thrown in jail and not even allowed to post bail because he's a flight risk, because he's obviously going to run back to Russia.
Yeah, he's gone.
And he already pled no contest to several of these charges in a related probe. So he definitely made it up. And the gyms fell for it, which puts them in a long line of other people who have fallen for these ham-fisted, really ridiculous things that the Republicans continue to lean on as their evidence of their shenanigans. So here we have this list, which was compiled nicely for us by the Washington Post, of dumb shit that the Republicans have fallen for just in the last couple of years. You want number one?
All right. This is the 7 months after?
News comes 7 months,
7 months after the indictment of another GOP source was unsealed, Republicans had conspiratorially suggested that a key witness who claimed to have damaging information about Hunter Biden had mysteriously gone missing. It turned out the witness was Gal Luft, I assume, who the government said had skipped bail after his indictment for alleged arms trafficking and foreign lobbying violations was handed down months earlier.
He didn't go missing. No. He fucking fled. You idiots. He's gone.
Arm trafficking and foreign lobbying is kind of like...
That's pretty spot on Republican.
Yeah, that's real... that's the circular economy right there for them.
Oh, sure.
That's so crazy.
It's the Iran-Contra all over again. We'll sell you some guns if you can use them to fight communism or whatever.
Oh, that's wild.
That's like the Maria Butina, whatever, She's like... NRA and Russian operative at the same time.
Of course.
Speaking of which, I drove by the NRA building in Fairfax
down
today.
Off of, is it 66?
Right off of 66. Yeah. Many broken windows, which I'm not making that up. I was like, I couldn't get my camera out fast enough. Wow. But I was like, what do they don't have any money to keep up their building? And I was like, oh, that's right, they don't.
They don't have it.
Way to go, Tish. She's dynamite.
Just drive by with a decrepit ass building.
It's falling apart.
Yeah.
This big shiny glass building looks like it's been shot with various baseballs. Look, it's hilarious.
I wonder. That's a lot of land there too, where they sit on.
That's a good mixed use development waiting to happen. Yeah, right there by the mall too.
It's right there.
Fair Oaks, baby. It's not quite my neighborhood. I got enough dangerous shit in my neighborhood.
Yeah, you do.
This RV driving guy.
Careful.
Take Oliver's offer. I swear to God, we'll throw in. We will buy you a 6-pack of Hop Slam every week for the rest of your God-given life.
Yeah.
Neighbor Clarence, if you take John Oliver's offer. It's $1 million a year and a brand new $2.5 million RV. Sorry, motor coach.
Motor coach.
That was a big deal. All right, number 2 on the list. Republicans in their impeachment push have hailed and spun the testimony of Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer, but Archer was sentenced in 2022 to a year in prison for defrauding Native American tribes. This guy's like such a
disrespect.
That's low for a criminal.
We've already done enough.
Have we not yet as a country?
It's just.
Which gang does he join when he gets to prison?
I don't know.
Who would take this guy? Even the Aryans would be like, yo, dude.
What's going on, man?
The fucking Indians, dude? Really? Have they not been through enough? I mean, we hate everybody, but Jesus Christ. What the fuck, man?
Insane. All right, moving along, guys. Let's keep it moving on that one.
That's
How you
rough.
Defrauding the Native Americans.
Yeah.
It's just sick.
Here comes your favorite guy, though.
All right.
Rudy
Giuliani, early in the 2020 election, worked and met with Ukrainian politician, is it Andriy Derach?
Yeah.
We'll go with that for now. In September 2020, the Treasury Department under President Donald Trump sanctioned Derach while calling him an, quote, active Russian agent for over a decade, end quote. That's a good long time.
That's a good, over a decade.
Over a decade, who was, quote, complicit in foreign interference in an attempt to undermine the upcoming 2020 U.S. presidential election, end quote. The Justice Department indicted him in late 2022. Derach, like others in this post who aren't on U.S. soil, has not faced trial. So everybody's gotten low on this. They all get to fly away.
But Rudy fell for that one.
Of course.
And even Trump's Treasury Department was like, oh, yeah, this guy. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
It must have been some career person who did that work. And Trump didn't notice.
I was going to say.
Or understand it.
Mnuchin was his treasury? No.
Was Mnuchin? Yeah, Mnuchin was
his treasury?
Yeah. We don't claim him either.
Look, you know...
We kicked him out.
Yeah,
to be very clear.
He's a wild guy for
he financed the Lego movie. He's the producer of the Lego movies.
He's a wild guy because you could even argue something like the housing shortage shit is right now because of him and his companies who bought up all that shit.
Yes.
And also what I will say is one of the sound voices during COVID for getting this money and those relief things out.
He was right about that.
That part which is very that's the one thing.
You can make an argument that Mnuchin played Trump, not the other way around. That this guy's self-interested in a way that makes Trump look generous.
Looks really crazy.
Steve Mnuchin is so self-interested that he was like, sure, I'll take this government job and fleece the fuck out of everybody while I do it.
Yeah.
He got his name printed on the money, and then he had framed posters. He had framed sheets of money that he got pulled off the line at the Bureau of Engraving right there on 14th Street and was like, yo, grab me a couple of those. I'm going to frame them and put them on my wall, which he did.
He's a wild guy.
And it's all him. And then he went right back to being a Hollywood movie producer. He does not even care. And people are like, Steve, didn't you preside over all? And he's like, yeah, fucking who cares? I make a bunch of money. You goddamn right.
He's a wild career. That is a wild tangent.
Call us. We could use some financing. We're the Lego Movie 6. All right. Let's see. The Treasury Department under Biden later sanctioned other Russian and Derach-linked Ukrainians who had worked with Rudy. They, too, were accused of interfering in the 2020 election. One of them, Alexander Dubinsky, was recently charged by Ukraine's government with treason. For allegedly helping Russia in its war against Ukraine.
Crazy.
This is who the Republicans are hanging their investigations on. And Rudy shows up again. Poor Rudy.
2 other Giuliani associates who worked to investigate Biden, Soviet-born Igor Fruman,
yep.
And Lev Parnas, he's back, were indicted in 2019 for campaign finance violations involving Russian money. Fruman later pleaded guilty. Parnas was convicted and later pleaded guilty to fraud in a separate case.
Yeah.
So there you go. What's very, just back to the 2 gyms. they had. I would think you would run an impeachment parallel to an election to try to like get the voters on your side.
You would think.
I think there's no plan. Obviously, there's no plan.
There's no plan, and there's no
evidence.
There's no evidence.
I don't know what they're doing. It is going to backfire.
Well, if you're steeped deep enough in the Fox News world, evidence doesn't actually matter. And so they just are like operating on speculation and conjecture the whole time. And they just say things and they assert them as true. And you go, all right, well, we'd love to see your evidence of it. And they go, you don't need to see our evidence. We just know it's true. And it's like Rudy in court when he was like, well, we don't have any evidence, but we have a lot of theories. And that is basically the Republican ethos of this investigation. There is no evidence of anything. They've had years and time tied up in this and have made zero progress. There's not a shred. There's no phone call, tape, corroborating witness, video, nothing. Paper, nothing.
Meanwhile, the guy who's running again has all of those things.
All of those things. He's got fucking documents stacked up in a bathroom. Like, you know, it's not.
We've heard his calls.
Yeah.
We've heard them. There's many of them.
Yeah, they were perfect, remember?
Perfect calls.
Yeah. I heard an interview with Kemp this week, speaking of which, down in Georgia, Brian Kemp, and they were like, you know, what do you think about this? And we hear you maybe testified to Jack Smith. And he's like, yeah, fucking right, I did.
Yeah.
Except he doesn't talk like that because he's from Georgia. But he goes, yeah, I told the special counsel what I knew, and I told him the truth. And they were like, you know, do you think that this is a risk to the country, that this guy could, you know, try this again and all that? And he's like, well, you know, it is a risk, and it's not going to happen in Georgia.
But will he vote for him?
Yeah, he was pretty clearly no.
Okay, good.
Which puts him in a minority because a lot of these other Republican Trump critics, when they get down to it, if it's Trump versus Biden, they say they're going to vote for Trump.
Like Barr is going to vote for him.
Yeah, but Kemp does not like him.
Which I get that.
There is a thing about a guy who made a campaign ad where he's shooting people with a shotgun.
Yeah,
which he
that
did.
was a real ad.
That was a real ad that he made, saying things in a gentle, quiet Southern drawl about how somebody better not try something again. That sounds pretty fucking serious.
Yeah.
Especially to people who share our background. When we hear somebody who sounds like that saying those things, it sounds like a threat.
And remember, this state's Senate election is what turned this country.
Is the ChipChat election.
But this is what
ChipChat show.
That is what sent those folks over the edge on January 6th.
Man,
that was it. I said that, and I was laughing.
There's one of each of them.
I was laughing. I thought it was so funny. I was like, how did you all lose the Senate? I was like, you lost it to the black and the Jewish guy. I was laughing. And then you know what? They said, hold my beer. And they ran into the Capitol. Just
literally hold my beer, though.
Yeah, went out. I remember going on my
shit on the walls.
I remember going up to the roof and looking out, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's smoke. City under siege."
Yeah, I went to the roof of my buildings in Alexandria to look across, and I could see it. And I was like, whoa.
"Okay, is this what it looks like?" Okay,
white people are rioting.
Yeah, that's how you knew.
This is trouble.
Yeah,
I was getting dispatches. I had friends up on the hill, and I was like, because of course I'm thinking, oh. Chaos at the Capitol. This is going to be a great episode of Chip Chat.
Right, yeah.
Stay focused. So I was like, yo, give me, and I was collecting information and I was writing it down and I was like, oh, this is going to be really good. And then I started to like read through my notes and I was like, this is bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. Didn't even make for good radio.
No,
made for very scary radio.
Very scary radio. It was like, hey, are we going to make it to the inauguration? Wild time. Again, wild times.
It's going to be great when we're telling these stories in the climate refugee camps.
Yes. No, it'll be wild.
We should name our camp ahead of time and start building it now so that we're ready.
That's real doomsday prep and stuff.
Nah. I'm going to tell you a story offline about that, but nah. As long as it's called Chipchatistan, I think we're good. The rest will all fall into place.
God.
You got a better name?
No.
Tesland.
No.
No.
It needs a more. You can't build a nation around that.
ChipChatistan
No.
is already a nation.
God.
We've got an LLC.
There, it is a nation.
That's it. It's a
It's a person.
In Alabama, it's several people. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to try our very best to upset all of our listeners in Russia, or at least one in particular, which he listens.
Darn it.
I really hope he doesn't listen. Please don't listen to this show.
I saw what was coming up
next. It was all Tez's idea.
I saw what was coming up next, and I heard people moving about. I was like, oh, God, this is how it ends.
That's why I don't wear underwear. Can't get me with that one. Novichok. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
It is too. But if you're implying that I'm tipsy, sir...
Oh, of course he's not.
One, here come the two to the three to the four. Everybody wrecked out on the dance floor. Smelling like sex, trying to flex for the score. Go ahead and bring the bottle, you ain't even gotta pour. Neon lights is bright enough to make the eyes soar. DJ got them hype enough to crying for more. Crowd is turned they loud as fuck, the bass is like a roar. This finna be the night, they can feel it in their core. Here come the three to the two to the one. When the speakers clip, shit sound like a gun. If the pussy don't pop, then it wasn't any fun. And if you ain't come with squad, probably you better run. She in the mosh pit going crazy with the scum. He in the stall, sick vision, hazy from the rum. If you make it out alive, bet your ears finna hum for a day and a half. Now relax, have fun. Everybody in this bitch get tips. Now everybody in this bitch get tips. Now everybody in this bitch get tips. Now everybody in this bitch get tips. Two, here come the three to the four to the five. If the music stop now, everybody probably die. Weed smoke in the everybody probably high. Oh, you ain't? What you think you better, motherfucker, buy? Somebody getting stomped cause his eyes looking sideways. He cried like a bitch, took a hit off the high grade and ran back in, ballin' fist, looking irate. And grabbed that motherfucker, hung his ass off the fire escape. Here come the four to the three to the two. Somebody start crowd surfing right out the blue. Air getting thick, can't breathe, but it's cool. Instead of living one life, you gon' need two. 2 chains, 2 shots, too drunk, too caught, hit 'em up. Too late, to stop, 2 more, do not give a fuck. Today gets lost, tomorrow not gonna come. Till sun come up, tonight is 2. Get drunk. Now everybody in this bitch get tips. 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 3, here come the 4 to the 5 to the 6. Stabbing bound to happen if you acting like you rich. Or you was yapping to the cabin, here they clapping on a snitch and smack him 99 times just for acting like a shit. Say it backwards for the radio, but scratch it like an itch. Matter of fact, do not come back if you were sensitive to ish. Not the white whale chaser, straight shots, double fists. Next week, same time, hit the line, round 6. Way too savage on the average, daily asses get the tips. Next establish who the ratchet is, they have to be the lick. To hit for cabbage, need a carriage at the front, so what is left? The shit is done before the sun come up, you know it's time to dip. Everybody in this bitch get tips. Everybody in this bitch get tips. Everybody in this bitch get tips. Everybody in this bitch get tips.
Like a mistake or an accident or something.
I blame the media.
Right. All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping out?
Does your phone work right now?
Yes, it is working.
It is working. Okay,
Yes.
good. We there was a minor disruption in the Mid-Atlantic today.
Folks will probably
People
be very
lost their
upset.
fucking minds
People
over
will probably
this.
be very upset you saying minor.
It
But
was
it
minor.
was minor.
It was like several hours,
That's minor, yeah.
and it was handled.
Yeah.
And the emergency stuff all still worked,
Yes.
by the way. So, like, nobody was in peril. Just couldn't scroll TikTok for several minutes.
Productivity went up.
Yeah. People wrote things.
Yeah.
You know how a pen works?
Yes.
You have to plug it in. It's digital. All right.
Vape pen?
Yeah.
What the hell?
All right. So I don't know if you know, there's this famous song about, you know, where do you go when for all the Rockefellers and all the fancy people and all that stuff.
Oh,
It's called Putting on the Ritz.
putting on the Ritz?
Yeah. This segment is called
Oh, God, putting on the deaths.
Yeah.
Or Putin on the deaths.
There you go.
Ah.
All right. So I'm just going to read this one.
Yeah, sad.
Alexei Navalny was killed in his Arctic gulag, above the Arctic Circle, actually.
Yeah.
Just a week after Tucker made an insane dick-sucking trip to Moscow to lick the balls of an annoyed alternative history fan fiction writer. So far, tracking. All true. On the announcement of Navalny's death, Tucker said it was horrible and that no decent person could excuse it. Trump, in a rare instance of actually moving fairly quickly, rushed to excuse it. And Tucker resumed his bootlicking, testicle tanning, or whatever the hell his current job is. Meanwhile, Putin offed another guy in Spain, not in the subtle way that we're accustomed to, and the only windows involved were of the own victim's car.
Right.
Heavily armed KGB ran up to him, shot him several dozen times, stole his car, used it to run him over, and then used the stolen car as the getaway vehicle. The brazen aspect of this speaks to Putin's increasing feeling of impunity, something Trump seeks to emulate. In the midst of this, Trump and his insane pile of useful idiots in the right-wing media began to tell a story in which Trump, the millionaire loudmouth steak salesman, was really the character most like Navalny in the American remake of Russia Part 3, The Tsar's Revenge. Trump claimed that he was also being silenced and was a political prisoner at the hands of the Biden administration, despite
Cancel culture.
Despite the hours a week he spends in actual court being the recipient of far greater due process than even OJ. The flip and the cult is complete. The party of Reagan that ran up the federal debt to spend the Russians into the ground. The party of Nixon, who feared the Soviets so badly that he bombed Cambodia. Cambodia is what Trump thinks they're going to rename Pennsylvania to, because remember he said if he loses, they won't even call it Pennsylvania anymore. Yep. The party of Eisenhower, who excused a Nazi war criminal of all wrongdoing so long as his ICBMs could defeat those godless communists.
Yeah, he does. That's
true.
That's a true story.
That party, I mean, Kennedy did it too, but he's Democrat.
Yeah.
It's not that party, but same thing. Is now the Republican Party is now fully in support of the KGB agent running the show in Mother Russia. I don't know what else to call this, but this is a dangerous time. This is a dangerous time because Putin is out here feeling the most Putin he could possibly feel. He's not quietly killing people he disagrees with inside of Russia. He's not doing the Obama drone strike deal. He's like shooting them to death in broad daylight in front of their families and like walking away. And at the same time, you've got the front runner of one of the two parties in our two-system party out here talking about, I would encourage Russia to attack a NATO member. And I really don't see...
do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, I'd encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
Statement.
I honestly, I can't see... You know, Stoltenberg is out here saying that Trump would be bad for NATO. He was very clear about that. There have been several other heads of state in
bad
Europe.
For NATO the first time.
Yes, there have been. Remember, he was pushing people, literally pushed the president of Montenegro out of the way. If he knew that he was the president of Montenegro,
right,
he would have said a whole lot of other things.
God,
they have a mountain now. Yeah. So, but in any case, like. You've got other heads of state like saying out loud the thing that we're all pretty worried about. I don't really know. I've long since believed that the backstop is gone. But what is the recourse when the backstop fails?
I first will start with, and I think we can talk about this after the Republican rundown, why I think he easily loses this election and this is not an issue.
Alabama will tell you.
Yeah. Okay, right? Exactly. So we'll get to that.
It.
We'll get to that.
Yep.
God, where do you start with this? I think you start in Europe, which is kind of crazy because I can only imagine how frightening this is for, where, like, anywhere. And, like, there's not, like, a specific area. Right, let's take, right, Spain, for instance, where, again, he's sending people into sovereign nations to kill people on the sovereign soil. It's happened in England. Like, it's happened here in Spain.
It's happened in France. It's happened in Poland. Yeah. It's happened in several places.
So, right, we start there. And then, like, when do we even look at this? When is he goes after Georgia, when is that? In 08?
2008?
Yeah, all right. So we start there. Like, so I say, all right, as I think through this, of what I know of Vladimir
Abkhazia
Putin.
and South Ossetia.
Yeah, right. If I know of Vladimir Putin, right, he comes into power, 99? Somewhere around 2000?
2002, I think.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So he goes through there, like, and it seems...
Because W stared into his eyes and saw his soul.
And all that. Okay. So, right, if we start from there, we get to, it seems like his plan to reconquer Europe in the image of what he knows Europe as. And, right, he knows, even I think we might know Europe as somewhat of what he knows as well. Like, the USSR is something that was in my childhood of, like, and that was something I thought America was hell-bent on destroying. It was a ideology that, like, was not that's not what
that
we're doing.
One of the things that was an easy way to pull people together. Right? Like, Democrats and Republicans could agree on, should we build another aircraft carrier? Absolutely, if it beats the Russians. You know, like, what's bad? Russia. Russia is bad. Like, I saw this political cartoon this week that kind of really encapsulated it, which showed the Cold War, right? And it showed an elephant and a donkey sitting on one side of the table facing a bear, right? The Russians are represented as a bear, the Russian bear. And then it shows the modern Cold War, and it shows a donkey sitting by himself and the elephant and the bear sitting on the same side of the table. And that is really saying something. I mean, I wasn't kidding with this thing about Nixon and Reagan and Eisenhower and, like, these guys, if you ask people like us, what do you think of Nixon? What do you think of Reagan? It's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Tory bullshit on the highest level. It is the worst kind.
Policies that have set us back, like that undid a lot of things.
Undid Johnson and Kennedy's work and like undid civil rights. Yes, these people are awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Bloodthirsty death merchants. Fucking awful. But you know what I have in common with Richard Nixon? I don't trust the goddamn Soviets.
No. Yeah.
And Reagan, famously, trust but verify.
Yeah.
Provii ni provii, I think is the actual, he said it in Russian. I mean, not that he understood it, but he said it.
All right, and then, like, from Navalny and from just Ukraine, where did I go? There is nothing that we can, like, put up. Like, Europe can't do it alone. America seems ill-equipped. Like, I guess the EU is...
We're ill-equipped in will.
Because of how... Because
there's
like one party that... Again, you need... Again, two of these parties here really kind of hamstrings everything globally when one is kind of just like... It's off the rails. It's not even like... I thought this was the one... Like, you could have never told me that the Republican Party would have
been on the side of Russia.
Yeah. I could have never saw that. And I think also like just Russia in general, and I think we've talked about this before, when you lose, which this sounds terrible, but like this common enemy, I think, as a nation, then the nation looks inwards. And when it looks inwards, it starts to fight itself. I think we've been there for a long time.
The Russians figured it out.
And the Russians know that. We see the way that they interfere, what they like, right? I think Biden would be a stable, it's a stable president. It's a stable one. That's a crazy statement that he said. That's wild. Like, we would have preferred that.
Putin outright said it. I mean, there's no argument here.
But then I don't know. All right, maybe for the citizens of the states, we as a collective, we might not necessarily see through that. But I thought the leaders, right, kind of figured this piece out and was like, all right, well, let's sign this. Like, let's go ahead and sign this money over to Ukraine. And I know that's so unpopular, but at a certain point, right, if the nation has to kind of and maybe this isn't the things we should believe in, right? Like, maybe this isn't, but at this point that's right in front of us, you kind of have to fight for that, the ideal of this democracy. And less democracy, you can't have a big ass nation start coming through and taking land from other nations.
Right.
It just can't be that.
There's several things going on. One is that the Russians have learned the lesson of history that the Americans have not. They watched what happened when Hitler tried to work this angle to divide Britain.
Yeah.
And yes. He worked Chamberlain's side and he said, look, just appease me for a little while. And Chamberlain did it until the British population lost their confidence in him and literally booted him out of Parliament. And that was it. Churchill came in and was like, no, fuck no. We're good. We're not doing that. And he's also learned after watching 2 world wars in Europe, he's seen that Europe itself is shaky at best. They don't really trust each other when push comes to shove. The threat of the EU and a cohesive Europe looks pretty scary to Russia if they want to dominate that part of Europe. And now that the Eastern Bloc countries are integrated into that and integrated into NATO, they look like, instead of just taking their L and finding a way to make money and work with it, they want it back. And
ideals are strong. That
it's like a gambler who loses.
Yeah.
You just try more until you get it. But this time he knows something that the other guy doesn't, which is that the Europeans are not capable of maintaining their security against Russia without us.
It's the whole reason why there is a NATO, right?
Yes.
Because you have to keep the United States interested in Europe after World War II. You have to keep them interested in it.
There has to be a threat.
Yes.
Okay? Until the Brits got the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Oh my God.
And until the French got the bomb,
right.
The only thing that stopped the Russians from rolling across from Poland into Germany was that we had the bomb, and it was pointed at them, and that was enough, right? Now the Brits got the bomb, the French have the bomb. It's possible that others have the bomb.
Also, NATO's there too to make sure Germany didn't get tricky again as well, to make sure that
but
that is also
Germany basically knuckled under. They got they understood the assignment.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They were like, our job is to make money and fund this shit, but not try to run it.
Yeah, can't do that.
We won't even have tanks unless you tell us to have tanks.
Right.
They get it.
Yeah,
but the Russians also get it, in that they understand that without the United States, NATO is basically useless.
Yeah, what is that? It's nothing.
It's Canada. Canada is useless without the States. Britain is very dependent on American military capabilities and stuff, and the French are too, and so are the Germans to some extent. Britain's in the Five Eyes. Okay, that's and so is Canada, right? So the Five Eyes is the U.S., Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So it's basically like the English-speaking remnants of the empire. It's sort of an implicit trust in how we kind of operate, similar government structures and all that kind of thing.
Right.
That level of sharing is important to the overall security of the group. And the Russians figured out that if they could infiltrate one piece of American politics and turn them away, that the American support for the rest of the system is not reliable.
One other reason that we should always be in NATO is because Article 5 is only been used one time.
And it was to defend us.
So for that alone, like that piece alone, there's no way in hell that you can like.
Yeah, but you're talking about a group of people who idolize somebody who thrives on and really makes the most of transactional relationships.
And history doesn't matter here.
Yeah, there's no loyalty with Trump, right? And the people who support him now operate in the same way. What have you done for me? And if the answer is, well, we came to your aid after 9/11, they go, well, what are you doing for me now? And it's,
why aren't you paying into this imaginary fund that's not real?
That doesn't exist. Yeah,
Right.
It's not a thing where they repay loyalty with loyalty. The way that we would say to ourselves, okay, well, look, they came to our aid after 9/11. The way that
Afghanistan just ended.
Yeah.
Like, folks just, like, all right, like, it just ended.
Yeah, there was a great story in the Post this week about how the Taliban are all sort of enjoying the modern trappings of, like, life in Kabul, and they're kind of like,
oh, this is nice.
yeah, they're like, well, we might move back to the country, but we definitely won't if there's no internet there.
Ice cream sundaes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of into it. And they all want to learn English and study abroad, shockingly enough. But anyway, so like the idea of you helped us, we owe you, or we feel connected to you as a result thereof is not a part of the modern Republican system.
I thought they like money. Well, this is bad for the economy.
They don't understand how money works.
This is very
They have
bad.
this whole alternative.
Did you see what happened when Did you see what happened when Ukraine got invaded? You see how everything exploded? Like, imagine that on a wider scale. Like, it easily could happen.
You want to? I mean, the war effort was tremendous. It pulled us out of the Depression.
Yeah.
It literally pulled us out of the Depression.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but look at that. I mean, this was exactly the argument that the reporter put to MTG and said, you know, NATO is important, and would you, Article 5 and all this kind of stuff. And she said, literally, kiss my ass. Like, I don't care. Don't tell. She said David Cameron should worry about his own shit in his own country. And it's like, well, all right. I mean, he is David Cameron, but like, you're on the same side as him. You're both on the right. And
I don't know. But this is where we get into.
Don't excuse Tory bullshit.
But this is where we get into, right? Donald Trump isn't. I don't even know if you can consider that the
He's
right.
not right. He's
it's
not
the
right.
right.
It's cult of personality.
Yeah, it's like if it was the right, we wouldn't even have this fucking conversation. Right. And I think, I know sometimes folks will look at that and be like, "Oh, you're giving an excuse," but no, these are, as what I know of, like conservative policies. And you hear it sometimes in the Mitch McConnell. You hear it from certain, like, there are a few folks who are like,
CPAC is meeting right now. Right now.
But it shouldn't be called that anymore.
But it's all going to be dominated by this pro-Putin, anti-voting, anti-freedom. Like, it's hard to square.
Yeah.
It is really hard to square. I mean, Cameron's point was solid.
Yes.
He said that the Americans need to get their shit together, and Europe can't support Ukraine all by itself. The Americans need to step up and continue to do this. This is Putin is not going to stop at Kyiv. He's going to keep rolling into Warsaw and everywhere else. You got to stop him. This isn't a question of appeasement and all this other kind of stuff. And Cameron called the Trumpists appeasers. He said this is Chamberlain all over again. And MTG, who doesn't know who Neville Chamberlain was, is like, kiss my ass. It's crass and also very telling at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the people who are operating this party are stupid at a level that ignorant doesn't even touch.
But then especially in the House, is that not, and I mean, doesn't that trickle down to the populace that, like,
that's who they keep sending?
We don't understand, like, oh, maybe, like, if the voters understand that, like, hey, we know that this is bad. Hey, we probably support money for Ukraine, but whatever Donald Trump means to me as like an idea, as a community, that is more important.
That's more important than this.
It has to be. I don't know where it falls on, because it's hard for me to believe that especially a lot of these older individuals, they've been around.
Yeah, that's the thing that's a little shocking. I understand the young idiots who don't know any better, but like the people who lived through the Cold War who can remember the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yo, what?
And they're out here talking about, well, you know, Russia maybe is not that bad. And it's like you were hiding under your desks, talking about ducking cover.
You see the symbols on buildings.
The fallout shelters are still there in all the high schools. Like you lived through this. And you're out here making this case.
This is a nuclear power. Well, mate, some might say they weren't really a power, but we've given it back to them. The power has been given back to them. The Republican Party has given power back to Russia.
Yeah, by basically letting them succeed on a battlefield. If this was the real world, if the Republicans weren't the impediment that they are to this, the second that they stepped into Ukraine, we would have given them F-16s.
Yeah.
The hang-up wasn't that the Biden administration didn't want to give them F-16s. It was that they didn't think they could get buy-in from Congress on that. If the Ukrainians had fighter planes and like long-range missile capability from the get-go, this would have been over.
Yeah.
Over. The Russians would have packed up their shit and gone home because they would have been bombed into oblivion. You don't understand the level of air superiority that comes with trained Western aircraft versus the Soviet aircraft that they've got. Some of them are good. The Sukhoi 35's pretty good airplane. F-15s, knock them the fuck out of the sky. Not to mention F-15s with GPS and all kinds of satellite shit. We see them coming before they do, and they can't even see us. It's a joke.
I also wonder at a certain point, right? Again, this is still a nuclear power, and you don't want to necessarily that's something it's still in the back of everyone's mind. But I think we're dealing with a different Vladimir Putin who's more on the legacy end now, where it's probably like you're not going to be able to, I don't know what deal gets negotiated at this point.
There's no deal.
There's no deal.
But if we took 20 Ukrainian pilots and taught them how to fly an A-10, close air support, baddest motherfucker on the planet, give them a few A-10s, shit, put them back into production. I'm sure Fairchild would love that. Put them back into production. Get a few A-10s. You know how that would tip the battlefield? There's nothing on the planet that can, on the ground, that can defend themselves from an A-10.
Does this stay in Ukraine, or do you hit targets in Russia?
The A-10 is close air support. This is strictly on the battlefield. Okay. We're not hitting the targets, but in the deep, long range, if they start firing from behind their own lines, that's where the F-16s get in. Shit, they don't even have to enter Russian airspace. They could fire and forget from Ukrainian airspace and hit a target 1,000 miles deep into Russia.
Where does his use of a tactical nuclear weapon?
It's running out of space, really.
But I'm just saying,
you introduce air power on the side of Ukraine, which this is not an air war. This is crazy. We're in this century.
Exactly. This doesn't even make it.
And there's no air power involved in this war. It's all being fought with drones and missiles. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But if the air war happens and the air superiority is maintained by the Ukrainians, this war is over in 100 days. And we've all seen that. It wasn't like the Iraqis fought back.
No.
Once we had control of the sky.
They're also not, but there's a different relationship though with Russia. It's just a different and because even to that point,
put your planes in the air, Vladdy. Get some fuel. You don't have any. Let's see it. You want to go toe to toe with Maverick? You can't do it.
You would hope though that you would have a united Congress, that he wouldn't even try something like this.
That's the problem. He saw the fissure and he split it wide open.
Having this conversation.
That's right.
That's the problem. It's there should never have been a time where he's moving especially after he had already annexed fucking Crimea.
He saw his opening.
He saw the opening, right? So from the Tea Party bullshit that was happening then to where we're at now with Trump,
yeah, he saw the easy path. And he was able to exploit it and knew that there was no repercussions.
Yeah.
I do very seriously wonder about who is stopping I mean, the Dutch are giving them the F-16s, and the Danes are giving them F-16s. So, like, they're going to have, and the pilots are getting trained, like, right now.
Right.
So that is going to, like, turn the tide of the war. But I'm just, like, why wasn't that in the first month? Oh, shit, the Russians have invaded. Quick, give these guys a bunch of airplanes. It's not like we don't have them.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line that the administration walked with, like, how they were going to support Ukraine.
But it kept seeming conditional.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll give you these weapons, but not these weapons. But we need those. Well, yeah, but you don't deserve those yet.
Which feels like, I mean, it feels like you worry a little bit about an unstable, secluded Vladimir Putin, about like what he does and how he, like, it does feel like we respected, in a sense, I don't even know how to really explain it, but almost respected what his response could be.
We feared his crazy.
Yeah. And that's where,
if you've got a nihilist idiot in charge of everything.
And again, like, coming out of the pandemic, like, who is his advisors? There is none.
What's he got to lose? Also,
that's where I go back to, like, the legacy insular piece as well, too. Where he at? You look at, it's not Vladimir Putin of 15 years ago.
No.
He looks old.
Yeah.
He is old. And, like, he feels a certain way about...
I haven't seen him shirtless in several
exactly.
years.
We're having him riding the horses and playing hockey and shit like that. It's not happening. Like, which, that's with all these dictators that are in that specific area of the world, when they get to this age, like, there's no, like, apparatus that's going to come in and take over for him. Yeah. That's how it used to work.
Well, yeah, but they don't want that next in line, because that next in line could knock him off.
Exactly. So that it doesn't work. He is the all power in that state. And I don't know what does he want his legacy to be at the end? And it seems like he's put all his chips on the table and says, well, let's see what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, there you go. The world's over. Sorry. That was Putin on the deaths.
There you go.
I like the pun.
It is pretty.
It was funny.
It's funny.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do the Republican rundown.
All right.
Because we haven't spent enough time bashing the Republicans yet on this show. But, you know.
I'm going to tell you why
that's what this
Joe
show is
Biden
for.
wins this election.
Yeah. We're going to learn all about that. It's called Alabama.
Yeah.
All right. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
The Democrats are a party of pedophiles. They support grooming children. Even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. Democrats get back. Boom. Reporters even get slapped. They spreading all these rumors because Marjorie be spitting big facts. Deep state and the left always hating. When they gonna let Joe about that basement? Marjorie, I really love what you do. Keep calling Ronald's out. No one does it better than you, huh? A real businesswoman, AOC's a featherweight. A Southern belle, a little hood. Watch her shake and bake. Divorce, that's all y'all got to bring up. Yeah, watch her drain the swamp because she know they corrupt. She's fighting for our children. She's fighting for our freedom. She's fighting for the Jan 6. She's fighting good versus evil. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. She's a boss. She don't rock with trans Tifa cause they soft. Them liberal tears can't save you, wipe them off. You know we reppin' 45, he never lost. Watch a real Georgia peach go and set it off.
But I think what upsets me the most, Vinny, is the fact that everyone in Washington has known about the Biden crimes for a very long time, and they've done nothing about it. But yet regular Americans, they go to jail if they don't pay their taxes. They go to jail if they walk in the Capitol escorted by Capitol Police like Jacob Chansley did.
And they tell the trendies how the trendies go, rip me off. Get into it. Jump up and down. Oh my gosh, so trendy. So trendy. Oh my gosh, so trendy. Angelina Jolie going, I mean, that's what we're dealing with here, and I'm sick of it.
That's a new one.
I haven't seen that one. Oh my god.
Oh my.
That's a new old one.
A new old one, yeah.
Well, way to go, Brian. You scored again.
It's yo.
Whoa.
Oh, yo.
We love you, Alex Jones. Thank you for providing.
Did he do that? Is that what he did?
We gotta find the person who's making these videos, the placeboing guy or person, whoever it is. I don't even know who it is.
I would love to talk.
We gotta run that person down and get him on the show.
Yo,
can you do that? Brian's gonna try.
Oh my god,
I'm gonna try with my Twitter magic.
There you go.
That's gonna be. That would be amazing. Could
that
you imagine interviewing that person?
The whole show has to be
would be you and just be like, tell me about your genius.
So,
let's go play one of your masterpieces.
Yum 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 yum. It's like a
See,
cookie.
when you did that thing with the gay frogs, what was your inspiration for that?
That last one is insane. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay. All
right, focus.
All right.
This segment is called Republican Rundown. Now you can see by the fact that I'm wearing a suitable jacket, yes. I'm a serious newsman.
Always
right.
Happened.
So this is where we're gonna tell you about some Republican stuff that's going on in the news. If we were professionals with better jackets, it would sound something like this.
I'll eat Mitch McConnell.
Like corn on the cob.
I'm ready.
No. It would actually sound something like this. Oh, no, it's great.
Oh, yes, in Washington, D.C., I'm J. Scott Smith, and this is the part of the hour where I tell you some stuff that's going on in the news.
Thanks, Jay.
It's so disrespectful that we play him after fucking crazy shit like that.
He likes it. He'll be back on the show soon. All right, so this one is called Flailing in Futility, which I actually wrote as the title. This one is called Flailing in Futility. So we just talked about how Ukraine needs funding and help from the United States. You may remember that there was already a conversation about funding Ukraine in Congress. And the House was like, well, we'll give you a funding of Ukraine deal, but it's got to also include funding for Israel. And so like, all right, cool, go ahead, put it all together. And the Senate was like, no, we won't take, and this is Republicans in the Senate,
right?
We won't take funding Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, our three biggest like allies in a global fight for like freedom and democracy. We won't accept that unless you tie it to border security. And the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, were like, all right, cool. So they sent Chris Murphy to go hang out with Jim Lankford, rough assignment, and they hammered out a deal.
Though.
And
which
it was
unheard. I mean, kind of
unheard of.
And granted, the Democrats gave them a very big opening by saying, we'll talk.
Not only will we talk, but we'll give you basically whatever you want. And Lankford comes out of this with this cherry deal where they for the first time ever, create a mechanism to close the border, which is not currently possible. And like, also,
migration advocates right now are pulling the fucking hair out.
Let me just caveat this by explaining. When they tell you that X number of people have been have crossed the border under Joe Biden, most of those people aren't currently in this country. They've mostly been caught and sent back. That's how you know how many of them there are.
Yeah,
because they're caught. And then they get sent back. And some of those people who get caught are the same people who got caught last week. So they're just the same people over and over again. There's not 10 million new people in the United States. There's a few million, and they're awaiting their trials.
We could use them.
And they're spending money and helping the economy, and thank you. So, also, other caveat, if you hear that they're being given hotel rooms, and why aren't poor people who were born here being given hotel rooms, number one, many people are. And number two, they're being housed in hotels while we figure out what to do with them. That's not the same thing. It's not a benefit. They're not getting room service. It's not a nice time for them. It's just because we don't have any other place to put them.
And here's the thing, right, for all that.
Don't let the white supremacists divide the rest of us.
And also I think about just like, let's just think about a hotel, your own state, right? We've all been to hotels. How many days before it's like, yo, I wish I was in my own bed?
Yeah.
How many days? 3, 4?
Imagine what these people have gone through to get there.
They can't go back to their own beds.
They can't go back. They're fleeing destitute, poverty, and dangerous gangs.
And I thought the one story I heard over the last week that was really kind of enlightening around this, just globally, is the gentleman who's left China to do this. There was a story on that, and like the Chinese who are leaving due to like being in a country where you built yourself up small little amount of wealth, and the government came in.
Boy, it sounds like the Republicans ought to really support those people. How come the Cubans get the 1 foot policy and the Chinese don't? I feel like there might be something confusing about that. Anyway, back to baseball.
Right.
So they were like, no deal on Ukraine unless we get border stuff. So they hammer out a deal, and Langford presents a deal, and everybody goes, all right, it's cool. And then Trump goes, well, that sounds like you might solve a little bit of the border problem. I don't like that because I want to run against Biden's border policies. Don't vote for it.
To win elections.
Yeah, we need to win. We don't want to actually solve the border. The border is a disaster. Keep it that way. So all the Republicans, including Jim Langford, vote against their own bill, and they kill it dead. And the House is like, well, we've got this clean bill. Just vote on that.
Right.
And the Senate was like, all right, cool. Clean bill. Let's vote on that. And all of a sudden the House goes, and MAGA Mike goes, no way. We're not funding Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan unless we get border security. And all of us are like, yo, this movie sucks. And it's a sequel. This is the sequel of that shit movie that we just saw? Nah, man. I don't want to watch this movie again. But here they are again. So they've got the same deal for a little less money, negotiated by a bipartisan group in the House, hoping to get it. It's not even like approved by the speaker. It's not gotten a rules vote or anything like that. Its chances of passing are next to zero.
Right.
And it's the same thing that happened in the Senate. And this is the magic of what they figured out, is that they can continue to put forward garbage and then vote against it, and then it goes nowhere and nothing happens.
And time has run out. Like, I mean, in the sense of like in the calendar year of where we're getting to, I mean, like there's
the government is going to shut down in a week.
Yeah.
All right. Or 2 weeks, because there's two. It's going to happen in two pieces. The government's going to shut down. Ukraine might not exist by the time they get their shit together.
Yeah.
It's this whole thing is like ludicrous on its face. And I was hoping that the adults in the room would eventually be like, all right, guys, stop listening to the people who aren't elected currently and do the thing, because your constituents want it to happen. But no, that's not what's happening.
Yeah. I guess this Mike gets ousted, right? Because I think he makes a deal. Like, I think somehow they push through something on the government's gonna shut down, but I think they push a deal. They push the deal. He gets put like.
Let's get a lettuce out and start tracking time against MAGA
right?
Mike, because I mean, Liz Truss lasted less time than the lettuce.
Yeah.
MAGA Mike has outlived the cabbage, so I'll give him that. But
holiday season saved his ass.
Yeah, but let's start the cabbage now.
Yeah.
And see if he outlives it, because I don't think so. You've got government funding that's going to happen. The only way that can possibly happen is another suspension of the rules vote where all the Democrats and most of the Republicans, and that'll trigger a no confidence from the, Matt Gaetz and whatever, who just beat a DOJ bit, but House ethics, oof, turning up the heat. It's as hot as a 18-year-old with a Venmo account.
Oh. Democrats don't save him, right?
So the only way it happens is if MAGA Mike gets a deal from current Speaker Jeffries that says we will defend you in a no confidence vote and vote for you if you pass, Ukraine and Israel funding and also fund the government for an entire year on a suspension. If he does that, he's got it golden because that'll pass with 300 votes.
But then you tank the Republican chance in the House and Senate going forward in the election, right?
Tank him how?
I don't think
they'll no confidence vote him, and Jeffries and the caucus will save him, and then they'll just keep it marching.
I think that there's already supreme dysfunction in the Republican Party. I think regardless when we get to November, and I feel like they lose the House. I think that's going to happen.
If any of these guys are interested in governing, this is the way to do it.
I don't think they're interested.
No, they're not.
They're interested in winning elections, right?
And they're not going to do that.
That's the thing. So
here's evidence of it.
Yes.
Alabama, a state best known for having their ass kicked by Michigan this year in a playoff game.
Somehow. Go blue.
Go blue. Way to go, Des.
Go blue.
Thank you. So here's what's going on in Alabama. What we're about to tell you is the least shocking thing you've ever heard about Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to read it. Alabama doctors are puzzled over whether they will have to make changes to the in vitro fertilization procedures. Couples have crammed into online support groups wondering if they should transfer frozen embryos out of state, and attorneys are warning that divorce settlements that call for frozen embryos to be destroyed may now be void, amongst a million other things. Throughout Alabama, there is widespread shock, anger, and confusion over how to proceed after the state Supreme Court, which I want to point out is elected and once included Roy Moore as their Chief Justice. Twice, actually, included Roy Moore as their Chief Justice. The state Supreme Court of Alabama ruled Friday that frozen embryos are people, a potentially far-reaching decision that could upend women's reproductive health in a state that already has one of the nation's strictest abortion laws. No, Alabama. Not how that works. However, if it does work that way, I really hope that no unborn American people get deported of all these immigrants who might be pregnant on U.S. soil, that Greg Abbott bust over there or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, Greg Abbott has spent almost $130 million of Texas taxpayer money busing people to cities that need workers.
It's propping up the economy.
Fantastic. Way to go.
Bus economy coach. I think it's a
You know which kind of buses he needs? Those kneeling ones. He can't have the ones at the steps.
The one with the...
He can't sit in the back of the bus with you.
Well, yeah, you can. The ramp will get you on the
No,
back.
yeah, on the back, but not all the way up. Yeah, there's a couple of steps up there. He's standing up for Texas. So anyway, embryos are people now. You know why embryos have rights in Alabama?
Why?
Because they're not yet women.
That's good.
It's a good tweet. I saw her earlier. Yeah,
it's really good.
That's pretty funny. So child support starts at conception. Head Start starts at conception. Food stamps start at conception. Medicaid, starts at conception. What are we talking about here?
Most folks knew, right? I think when the Dobbs decision went down, most folks, there were people who talked about this. They like, well, when does it get here?
We talked about it on our show with several OBs.
Yeah.
Who were pretty worried about this exact thing.
And now we're here. I don't know where does this get over? Where does this get overturned? I don't even know. Because I'm not really sure. Is this the law of the land based on the Supreme Court?
This is the law of the land in Alabama.
Yeah. But if you appeal this decision,
well, there isn't anybody to appeal it to.
You can't appeal it to. Yeah.
But Okay.
But like eventually there will be some case.
Other states are going to try it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When there's a case where someone is charged with wrongful death, then
or worse,
when does it go from there? It's like, I don't know what the avenue is. Like,
well, what if it's an accident? I think that's where the legal aspect comes in. If something accidentally happens, and let's just like give a shout out to all the nice young teenagers in Alabama. I'm sorry, but many of you are going to go to jail. Many of you, especially the boys. You're out here skeeting all these people out all over the damn place. And the good people at Kleenex are not going to come to your legal defense. So I don't know how to tell you this. Yeah, that's. Listen, fellas, just
dead bodies on white sheets.
White sheets in Alabama. Good fucking Lord. That's you. Oh.
I had one. There's a funnier one there. We were doing a Vision Pro demo, and they were like, "Oh, like look at something," and they were like look at Mount Hood. I was like, "Not a Black History Month."
Nope. Nice park in Oregon, by the way.
Yeah,
we're not shaming the actual volcano. Yeah, no. It's a nice volcano. Go visit it.
Yeah. Where? All right, maybe we go to like. I still have thoughts on like because this just is building my case.
Well, this is the electoral.
How they lose this election.
This is the electoral question, right? Yeah. Because we've seen after the Dobbs decision that
now you can run an abortion. Like this is like a terrible gift.
It's
terrible.
Terrible gift is exactly the right way to put it because since the Dobbs decision, we've seen that there is no better way to make Democrats show up. Get them, if they're apathetic or they're mad that Joe Biden is too old or they're mad about Gaza or God knows what, but there is one fucking thing that will make everybody who cares get out of bed and go vote that day on that Tuesday. It is going to be this.
Yeah.
And if you take away people's reproductive choice, they will fucking vote. And it's not just all the women, which it will be all the women.
Yes.
Including the Republican women.
Yes.
How many Republican legislators in the state of Alabama had children via IVF? It can't be one, it's dozens.
And if you easily tie this to Donald Trump, which it is that, right? He's put those Supreme Court justices on the bench, right? And I think of all of the polling that you see around the flips, whether it's Black and brown men specifically going towards Trump, like all of those things where he's seeing gains. I wonder if we see the biggest turnout around women in November that really then change, like it's going to go ahead and null and void all the other gains.
If you thought white women had a lot of power in this country, you are nowhere near. You're about to see a tidal wave.
IVF, I think it afflicts many women in this country. But as I think of IVF, because of how expensive it is, I think of one group of people. There's one group of women that I think of when I think of IVF. And this is the same group of women that he is already alienated. This is the same group of women that we've seen them run the ballots
and they have
states.
Money and time.
They have money and time.
And
I saw it with school
Stanley
choice.
Cups.
I saw it with school choice and all that shit. So if that flips to abortion, doesn't matter the gains that he gets in these other areas, that doesn't equate to the amount, the percentage of women that are going to be, again, out there voting against him.
The tide is turned.
A protest vote. Like, a lot of people are worried about, like, protest votes in the sense of people not going out to vote, let's say specifically for Joe Biden for some of the reasons that you've mentioned before, which, we could talk through that. And I in other years,
we have several months to convince people of that.
Yeah. And I can even start with, I am empathetic to why you might feel the way you do of not making it.
We agree.
I agree.
But this is not the time for that.
And I know folks will be like, well, when
later.
I get it.
There'll be a time. Now ain't it?
So I just don't. That population is so huge, and if there's good messaging, right? I think if there's good messaging from the Democrats, this is close. Like this is like there's no way he wins.
Also,
even with the third party bullshit, I still don't think they're not going to vote for those third party candidates. It's going to be a protest vote against.
Unless the third party is also pro-choice, in which case then it could be.
What story are they selling? No, like it's
I don't know,
incoherent story. Whether it's no labels, whether it's Cornel West, like they're incoherent stories.
Well, also they don't have any money. But
that's and we see there's one man who does have all the money.
Joe Biden.
Like
he's outraised Trump by threefold in every possible category.
I worry because I think it's safe to worry because we should
always worry. It's like playing against Kansas City. Assume you're behind.
Yes.
I don't care by how far you're ahead. Assume you're behind and play like you are behind. Fucking race to the end. Like for real. But we've seen in state after state where abortion has been on the ballot in every congressional election after the Dobbs decision where it has not gone well for the anti-abortion candidates.
Right.
And I think that the Alabama decision basically encapsulates this thing that it can shorthand it, right? You don't have to go into some, well, what about all these unintended consequences of Alabama? You just got to say, you don't want this country to end up like Alabama. And then people in Wisconsin and people in Michigan and people in Pennsylvania and Nevada and all the other swing states, Alabama's not one of them, Georgia hears you don't want to be like Alabama and they go, oh, fuck no.
No. And especially with the influx
of
new Georgians that are there.
Nobody in Georgia wants to be called Alabama. That would destroy the SEC. Nobody in Bama wants to be called Georgia.
No.
There's no greater rivalry.
Georgia's already been destroying Alabama.
That was the Doonesbury cartoon that didn't get published this week. There is no greater insult you can hurl at somebody from Georgia than to call them Alabama. They hate Alabama for a lot of good reasons. The last 20 years, give or take.
Also, this is terrible because I'm not wishing anything on anybody, but I also think the vote for Joe Biden is also a vote for probably the next Supreme Court justice.
Oh, very clearly. Very, very clearly. John Oliver notwithstanding.
Yeah, I think we're in that realm. Like, because crazier things have happened on it. Like, things happen fast on that court. And
I'm going to hang out a giant.
Okay.
Look. I'm going to take my opportunity. I'm not throwing away my shot. All right. Speaking of which, this has to be a Kanye joke.
It's not.
This can't be real.
It's super real. He was there. I
saw the video.
When I saw this, like even like people who like I know like write about sneakers and stuff like that, like no, yeah, it's
all right. So here's what happened. A company that Donald Trump owns that claims that he doesn't own it, which is all of that's true.
It's a SPAC.
No, it's not a SPAC. This is just. He claimed it on his 2023 financial disclosure.
The reason why he can't do business in fucking New York.
Yeah, he's just lying about stuff.
Because you're lying. That's why. I gotta cut those up.
He created. They've got two new products out. One is a set of clown shoes, and the other is some piss water that he called cologne. The clown shoes he debuted at the sneaker con in Philadelphia.
Sick.
Now listen.
He had a booth.
Listen, this is a great graphic. Thank you, Brian.
Oh my God. So this is what they look like. That's how he's looking at them.
He's never seen them before.
It's the first time.
Philadelphia is not a place Donald Trump should ever go.
Not SneakerCon either.
Well,
but it plays into what I was just saying.
So he had a speaking role.
Yeah.
And he goes out there and he's like, hey, and there was all kinds of noise. Most of it boos. I don't know if Brian's got any of the video of it, but most of it's booze, but there's a few people like cheering. Yeah. And he goes, oh, there's a lot of emotion in this crowd, a lot of emotion. And he tries to kind of middle of the road it and stuff. But everybody is very clearly like, hey, man, what the fuck are you doing here?
You really think there's that many black people in this country? What's his play?
So then he shows up, he shows the shoes, and they're ugly, and they're fucking horrible. And also, like, he's got just a few of them, right?
He went the LeVar Ball.
Yeah, that's exactly
big
what he did.
Big baller brand route.
So he's got a few of them made, and he sells them there. One guy paid $9,000 for a signed pair of Trump shoes.
I feel like the signature brings the shoe value down.
I feel like the Biden economy must be doing pretty well if you can afford $9,000 for a set of fucking sneakers.
Yo, that really good. Really good.
Just saying. These sneakers retail, by the way, for $3.99. And
they probably cost $3.99 to make.
Yeah. But in China.
But they gotta be made in China, right?
Well, they haven't been made at all, actually. And that's the important thing.
Oh, it's a grift.
Yes. You may be shocked to find out that the G in MAGA is Make America Grift again. So there is no guarantee that these actually exist, and there's very clearly on the website no refunds. So there are going to be hundreds, if not maybe thousands, of Trumpistas who spend $400 on a pair of shoes that they will never get. And when they never get them, the story is going to be, well, the Biden crime family stopped you from getting your shoes. Give us $500 more and we'll put them out of business or whatever, you know. And they'll all do it.
Hell of a way to fund your criminal cases.
You know why Trump doesn't have any money? Because he spent $50 million of the RNC's money fighting his own legal battles. $50 million.
I don't know how a campaign wins.
That's the sound of an innocent man, I tell you.
I just don't know how a campaign wins doing this.
Yeah, so the sneaker website is run by CIC Ventures, a company that Trump reported owning in his 2023 disclosure statements. The website states, quote, that the new venture is not political and has nothing to do with any political campaign. Still, it described the sneakers as a limited edition, quote, true collector's item, and that is bold, gold, and tough, like President Trump.
The never surrenders.
Yeah, they're called never surrenders.
He's really trying to turn all of these criminal cases into the grift of all grifts.
Look, if I wanted to buy ugly sneakers from a racist, I would have called Kanye.
Oh God,
it's ridiculous. This is it's not. Among those in the crowd was Jonathan spelled wrong. He spelled his own name is spelled wrong.
John Athen.
Yeah. THEN Santiago. Wow. There's a lot of questions here.
It's one of those Tario situations.
Yeah. Dania, I don't know, Mitchell. Trump supporters who drove from Monroe County in the northeastern part of the state. That's of Pennsylvania. That's the part of Pennsylvania that's in New Jersey. For the sneaker event, they said that they were excited to see the former president and praised how he interacted with the crowd. They also had kind words for the sneakers.
Oh, God.
The red bottoms are a nice touch. Now, Twitter has noted that there were several other shoe companies that lost lawsuits to Louboutin for having red bottoms on their shoes.
Here's the next one.
Yep, and I think that's coming for him.
CIC Ventures.
Yes. Don't worry, it won't exist long enough to get sued.
Exactly.
All right, should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
No, we got to take a break.
Okay.
We have to take a break because we're changing topics. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's going to be time for the Tez Talk and a bunch of other things.
From Beltway Radio and beyond and what?
That's how we do it here. You're listening to ChipChat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Two bags of straight is the same price as an hour refurbished. No wonder we're all fucked up.
I tell you what, Mo,
So that's a great point. I got a point to be proven to myself. Sitting too long, getting moldy on the shelf. Cause I'm too far gone when it comes to mental health. Rather be sick in the head with a little bit of wealth. Time I tend to write a glotty call it strancher. Martin känner igen en din du ser dansare. Jag ger i lärd för nacken, she we can't check out. När man kollar på jag ger starka show with my Shasiki, to your grön, yeah, they're gonna to you constantly. And in the individual is surely what you want to be. You're born to stand out, live your fantasy. Before they eat you up, especially out the laugh at G. Van Sucker, BG, Grasakas, clean it off, land mucker. They'll be pushed back, spot, relax, shocker. Cause shoulders real set, they heal it on, brother. It's the philosophy. Ni ligger don't more real. Go of fame, urban ear, heal a tie, urban TV, Steve, to be a fact for me. Because could be road, pilot, all of it. So it's how it's meant to be, so got your cogger. Clean out hands, now here's the hand fogger. The Hagen shit, tosser, Murray Hagen, tosser. They're huge, you did the cosser. So talk, chance, call. Never seen these fosser. I got a point to be proven to myself. Sitting too long, getting moody on the shelf. Cause I'm too far gone when it comes to mental health. I'd be sick in the head with a little bit of wealth. Now my chin, the way I got it, call it strancher. My time can't do and they need to sit down, chera. I give me life and knock your shit, we can't check out. Never gonna be a guest, like a show, man. I prayed to the devil, let me be rich instead. He said, you'll no longer be skin, but you'll be sick in the head. Ni vet hur real susrajana. I'll go to be fiber. You want this for naginus of rest when you're paired? Yes. You're a comp makara. Son, I'll be back for a fat loan tomorrow. That's me never getting dressed. Depressed and always para. Throwing tantrums in my mansion. Am I embarrassed? Nah. God shines, go and get the bugger mirror. Neil and dirt, my delums is macabre. Earth spray, insecure, no more smoking till it's all done, all gone. No hard magic till it's all no. But we're making up our own laws. Never getting worried about our own flaws. Fuck a real job, we make our own bob. Kneecap, tree cap, we're our own gods. I got a point to be proven to myself. Sitting too long, getting moldy on the shelf. Cause I'm too far gone when it comes to mental health. I'd be sick in the head with a little bit of wealth. I'm a chin to fight a guy, call it strancher. My time can't do and they need to sit down, chera. I give me life and knock your shit, we can't check out. Never gonna be a guest, like a show, man.
All right, welcome back to ChipChat here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What popped me out?
That was an abrupt start. That's what we do around here.
Abrupt starts.
Yeah, this is time for the Tez Talk.
It is time for the Tez Talk.
Yeah.
Look at these dead ass birds.
There you go. All right, so your buddy.
Yes, Elon Musk.
That guy.
The one who took our beloved Twitter and turned it into X and has destroyed everything that was good about it.
Was it?
I don't think so.
It used to be good.
It did. There was a time. I think there was a window. I don't know what the window.
Between 09 and 11.
11 really good there. I think a strong window probably between 12 or no, from 13 maybe to 14. There's another strong window there, and then Trump in there kind of went to shit. But it has obviously a new owner.
Everybody's favorite African American.
Yes, yeah.
That's true.
Africana American.
Yeah.
Triple K.
Yep. No.
Yes, we're talking about Elon Musk. And he has been accused in the Daily Mail of using a burner account on X to shower himself with praise, according to a bizarre new conspiracy circling internet forum. So, he's pulling the Kevin Durant. Which is like, look, whatever.
It's not the only one.
Not the only one.
Not the first one. Lots of people do that.
Ref? There was the ref on. Didn't he get fired in the NBA? I think?
Donnelly. I think
one of them got fired for, I guess, praising himself, and then I don't know. There was again ref controversy. So people make burner accounts, right? Social media users have claimed Musk is using an quote imaginary fan account under the name Adrian Dittman. To respond, that's a good one. It's a good burner account name. To respond to his own post on his platform after the blue tick verified account was seen popping up with repeated notes of admiration. Pekka Kalionemi?
I don't know.
Off the hop slam. Pekka K, creator of Soup Central, a channel purporting to provide in-depth knowledge on disinformation, bad actors, and information operations, shared a thread viewed 5.1 million times on this wild theory, the Wild Theory this week. He noted it wouldn't be the first time Elon is using an alt account to interact on X after users tracked down an, quote, Elon test account in which the Tesla founder posed as his 2-year-old son and criticized his ex-partner Grimes. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And this month.
That's awesome.
I missed that one there.
Yep.
And this month, an account was said to have been suspended from X after alleging he was being harassed by Dittman, who claimed he had asked his friends to ID me in a Twitter space after publicly criticizing Musk. The account holder has since clarified that they left the site voluntarily. But Dittman asked for 5 minutes with Musk to clear up an alt account situation. The pair speaking late on Monday about the claims. The conversation directly addressed the similarities in the voice, but also prompted new allegations Musk had used an AI impersonator to put the rumors to bed.
So that's let's just
There's a lot
pause
to
this
this
for
one.
a second. It's not just that he's writing tweets praising himself,
He's
but
also
he's
has an
also
AI
calling into the Twitter Spaces as with a voice modulator talking about how great he is.
Yeah, but not just the Twitter Spaces.
No.
Dittman made headlines last year when Musk
Here it
directly
comes.
acknowledged the similarity in their voices after the former appeared on Alex Jones's controversial InfoWars podcast. The billionaire tech entrepreneur commenting at some point there's just going to be like 100 AI clones of me that sound exactly the same. End quote.
You got Elon, Twitter, and Alex Jones all in one story.
Yeah.
It's the most Tez story on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, this is not surprising. I think because, again, many people do this. It always seemed that the only thing he ever cared about regarding Twitter was being popular on Twitter and not understanding, I guess, the organic way that had happened over the decade plus that it had been around.
Right.
It's a weird thing as a billionaire to be kind of pressed to be popular on Twitter. I guess the social capital of clout though is huge, and I do think, and I think studies have shown that there is a human reaction to the like button and going viral.
I like seeing that I got a bunch of likes on a tweet. It feels great.
Yeah,
it's
feels good.
It's validation.
Yeah. So I mean, and I don't think there's anything even wrong with that to a degree, but I do think the world's probably not right now, but the world's richest man at one point, they go back and forth. This shouldn't be a concern of his, and maybe the person who has this concern, maybe we shouldn't have all of our kind of
Space stuff tied up into
space shit tied into this. I don't know anything.
We had noted friend of the show Pierre Delecto on for years, and Pierre Delecto turned out to be Mitt Romney's burner account. But yeah, he was we can go back in the archives. Actually, I contacted him this week to see if he was available tonight, but he was going out to a show.
Oh, so good for him.
Yeah, but we're gonna get him to call in. We're gonna get Pierre Delecto back on the show because you don't get to talk to fake Mitt Romney very often.
I didn't know you let French people call in here.
Yeah, it's funny. He wasn't actually French. He's just Mitt Romney. Yeah. All right. So that story about Elon and Twitter, that all ties in pretty nicely to this weird story from Florida.
Or not.
No, definitely Florida. All right, so Florida Republican lawmakers, they advanced this bill trying to hold journalists accountable. Basically, they wrote a law that said that they could sue people for writing things that were untrue about them.
A libel?
It's called libel. We already have these laws.
Oh, okay.
And so, but they wrote it in a fashion where it's
I thought you said they wrote it in fascist.
No, that's funny. All right, they wrote it in such a way that at least a few right-wing radio folks, including this guy Trey Radel, picked up on hey, actually, we're the ones who do a lot of lying and accusing people of stuff. we could get burned by this pretty bad. We should not advance that. He said, quote, while certain Republicans may think that they're going to be suing and taking on the New York Times and the Washington Post, here's the breaking news. Liberal trial lawyers are going to have a field day with center-right media in the state of Florida. He said that on Fox. So, like...
he has a real observation, specifically if you know Florida radio.
Dominion also. Like, he's looking at the Dominion voting case and saying, oh, shit, we're the ones who are out here just lying all the time.
Like none of this stuff is true.
Yeah, this is currently happening.
Yeah.
Mike Lindell was ordered yesterday to pay $5 million to the guy who debunked his Prove Mike Wrong challenge. Here's what happened. Mike Lindell thought that the election was stolen. And he said, I've got all this data that proves that the election is stolen. I will challenge anybody to show me that this is not the data showing that the election is stolen. If they can prove it, I'll give them $5 million. Exactly one person tried this. He happens to be a guy who voted for Trump twice.
But he saw the opportunity to get his $5 million.
Well, he looked at the data and he goes, this is just a bunch of random numbers and letters. This is not real stuff. So he
free $5 million.
Published a 15-page report explaining how it's not even that
long. A long one.
About how this is nothing and it doesn't point to anything and no China or any, it's all bullshit. And Mike was like, well, I don't believe your report. So he went to arbitration. And the arbitrator was like, oh, no, that's definitely, you got to pay him the $5 million. And Mike didn't like that, so he took it to court. And the court was like, oh, no, you got to pay the $5 million. So this guy got $5 million for proving that Mike Lindell's an idiot, which is all good and true.
Yeah, right.
Imagine if Florida opened up the avenue for everybody else to sue everybody else for saying a bunch of untrue bullshit all the time.
This paragraph is wild. He has taken issue with several aspects of the proposed legislation. The bill cracks down on the use of anonymous sources, saying there is, quote, a reputable presumption, end quote, that if a publisher said something false about a public figure that can firmly be debunked, that the publisher, quote, acted with actual malice. It allows any, quote, reasonable person, end quote, to sue those who use artificial intelligence against them in false light. Additionally, the bill allows a plaintiff to file a lawsuit in any county as long as the alleged defamatory content was published on the internet.
So they can judge
anywhere.
shop.
Yeah, so like, right, they do this in Broward County, which is like a super liberal area of Florida, and they were like, imagine the judges there. And when I thought of all of this too was like, imagine if they get someone monitoring that Cuban radio down there. Yo, that shit is like flies under the FCC. Like,
one of the things that you need to know about how the FCC works is that it only works when people report things. That's true.
Yes.
So the FCC does not actually monitor everything on the airwaves. Right. It is tasked with the public airwaves, which is over-the-air broadcasting, not a show like this, so we can fucking say whatever the fuck we want.
There you go.
But the over-the-air airwaves, there's rules.
Yeah.
You can't cuss, can't say certain things, and you have to provide a certain amount of public information programming per week, which always happens on Sundays at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so it meets certain requirements. And that's to own your little piece of the spectrum on the public airwaves. But the FCC doesn't actually listen to all of that. What they're waiting for is for somebody to have taped a conversation or taped something that happened there and send it in to them and say, hey, I got a problem with this. And one of the really interesting things about this is it only applies to English language broadcasting. So if you are on another language broadcasting on the public airwaves, on AM or FM terrestrial radio or television, and you say a bunch of racist bullshit, nobody can report you. It's totally free game.
South Florida, Cuban radio.
Listen to Spanish language talk radio.
Oh, my.
It is the most racist shit you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as a Jewish kid in America.
And it swings a voter block, specifically there.
In South Florida, it does.
In South Florida, yeah.
But like just colloquial Spanish language talk radio is racist as fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like totally fine. Because the FCC can't understand it. They don't bother to learn. All right, let's go to Wisconsin, unfortunately. Look, there's a lot of things I don't like about Wisconsin, but here's something I do like about them. Democracy.
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
We hope.
So Wisconsin is a swing state.
Yes.
Where statewide Democrats win.
Yeah.
Senators, governors, happens a lot. But the Republicans have control of the legislature, both chambers, by supermajorities. How is that possible, you might ask? Well, if you've got a sharp enough pencil, you can draw the lines to create districts where they're technically the same size in terms of voters, but you know exactly who those voters are, and they're all Republicans.
Is that Jerry the Salamander?
The salamander, yeah. Jerry Salamander. What's that word? If you put them together. Newt.
Newt.
Yeah, it's a newt.
It's a newt.
She turned me into a newt. Got better. All right, so anyway, the Republicans have gerrymandered the fuck out of Wisconsin, and now they hit a court case. So what happened was their Democrats sued, and they said, this is totally bogus. And the court was like, all right, look, go redraw the districts. And if they meet the standards, we'll approve them. And if they don't meet the standards, we're going to draw them for you. And then liberals took control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court because there's elections. There's statewide elections.
Right.
So the statewide elections, the majority of which were Democrats, voted for the justices who are currently sitting on the Supreme Court.
Right.
And so they're not likely to accept a bunch of maps that give Republicans an outsized majority when they don't actually have an outsized majority in the state. So they kicked it back to the legislature and to Governor Evers, and they said, draw better districts. And they did. And they passed them.
Better districts? Got passed.
And Governor Evers signed it. Is it as democratic as it could be if the Dems like put their thumb on the scale? No, it's not. Is it equitable and pretty like even? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The Republicans in the House who hate Tony Evers took the job, took the offer because they realized that the alternative would be even worse.
Worse, right.
At least they're somewhat competitive in this case. There are a lot of people who think the Democrats who support independent commissions redrawing districts in states like New York, Wisconsin, and other places like that are unilaterally disarming. That's true.
Right.
We are. But there are certain things that are the right thing to do for democracy's sake.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it.
Should we draw this in a way that guarantees a Democratic majority in the House for the good of the country? Yeah, that's a good argument. I totally buy that myself. I'm with it. But also, no, we should not do that. We should draw the districts so that democracy is the deciding factor, and if the people vote, the people vote, and that's it. And you can't put your thumb on the scale even if it's right and even if it's good, even if it's just. Right? John Lewis was pretty clear about that.
Yeah.
Is it right? Is it good? Is it just? If it's not those three things, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
You shouldn't do it. So good on Wisconsin. They got that through, and it's bipartisan, so I guess it'll stick for 5 or 6 minutes. This happened, and I didn't even know it happened. Did you know?
I did not know. I read this.
You didn't even know this happened either. You know that guy who's on TV all the time, Joel Osteen?
Yeah.
Weird name. confusing name for my people. Joel Osteen. Spelled wrong.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
But we're like, sounds like one of ours. Looks a little like he might be one of ours too. Not sure.
Hiding? Maybe he doesn't want to.
Could be. Somewhere along the line. Anyway, famously has this giant mega church that used to be a basketball stadium that doesn't let people escaping floods.
They can't come in.
Can't come in.
Crazy.
Can't come in. But thousands of people who pay him can come in. They got tickets every week. What happened in this stadium church? Guns in Texas.
Who would have thought?
In Houston. I'm shocked.
Ugh.
More specifically,
this is the story where a patron of the church or parishioner of the church walked in trench coat, right?
Yeah, with her 7-year-old.
And
an AK.
And then did start shooting and was killed by the, I don't know if security or police that were in the church?
Yep. She shot a bunch of people, and then she was shot by...
I didn't even hear about this mass shooting. This happened at the church.
There were so many mass shootings that week that none of us heard about this.
Crazy.
And this is a famous church.
Yeah, I was going to say.
On television. But, yep. So, middle of the week, she walks in and shoots up a bunch of people. And, she gets shot. She bought this gun legally, despite many, many, many instances of contact with the mental health system. She brought her kid with her to the church.
A new mental health victim.
I believe the kid was also injured by it.
The kid was, yep.
Yeah, he's in the hospital still.
The child was shot in the head during the shooting. It remains unclear who fired the shot that injured the 7-year-old, who remains hospitalized as of Sunday. But yes, an off-duty cop shot her back and killed her.
I love the police. The police chief was dead on with this one. He was like, quote, if our officer or if an agent or whoever shot that kid, I put the responsibility squarely on the suspect for bringing that kid into this tragic environment.
Goddamn right.
That's it.
I mean, there's no question there. Investigators are still trying to determine what led Moreno to open fire at the church last week, including whether her mental health issues or recent argument with her ex-husband's family could have factored into the rampage.
Maybe she didn't like the sermon.
Maybe that prosperity gospel shit.
Speaking of which,
they had a special service though, right?
They reopened.
So
week.
that's the story.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing at the absurdity of the special service that you have a week later
with a collection plate for the victims, which is the church.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I do feel like if thoughts and prayers were going to work, there may be no stronger set of thoughts and prayers than Joel Osteen's church.
I mean,
it's not even one of these little churches in Texas that gets shot up. This is a giant church. There's the most thoughts and prayers there at once.
National coverage.
I mean,
it's on TV every week.
Again, it's pick your mass shooting at this point in this country. We didn't even talk about Kansas City.
Well, we kind of, last week,
I guess kind of.
We touched on it.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's not like.
2 of the juveniles are charged,
yeah,
separately, and then one guy's charged with the murder.
But none of this.
It's fine.
This is just icing on the American way.
If you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to get shot at. That's the rules.
It's a nightmare.
That's our freedom.
It is legit the nightmare that is the American dream.
That's why all the windows in the NRA building are fucking shot out.
Practice.
Right. They couldn't get to the range. They didn't have enough money for range.
They had to shoot at their own building.
Yeah. It's funny. Speaking of which, Rizzo, is his job safe?
Yeah, he doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
It seemed like the damn learners aren't going anywhere.
There you go.
It's all insane. Let's just get to, I just want to go to the bottom of this story.
Yeah.
To this, where's the hopeful fan? Because I felt bad for him. What was his name? Phil Goldman.
Yeah.
Who, right?
71 years old.
71, had season tickets since the team came here in 2005. He was quoted to say, I hope now we'll be able to put some money up for quality players. That's not going to happen. He's, again, a season ticket holder who's been around since 2005, since the first year in D.C. And here's his other quote. I don't know that it's going to be this year. It's not. But that's good. I enjoy having the learners as owners. I thought they did a good job. All right.
I mean, they did deliver a World Series. They delivered a World Series.
But the learners did that? Or did Mike Rizzo do that?
Rizzo did that.
Because it wasn't like they were, I mean, old man Lerner, the one thing with him, he pulled that friggin' Max Scherzer shit out of nowhere. But here's the issue with the current, like, what's the kid's name on there? God, why am I blanking?
Who, Mark?
Mark.
Yeah.
The issue with Mark right now is that, unlike the old man, I think he has to go to.
He's 70, by the way. He's not a kid, but
yeah. Not the old man though. The old man is gone. I mean, like he has to go to a group of individuals to make moves in this team. Again, where the patriarch didn't really have, like, he was one of those owners where, like, again, that Max Scherzer move is that to me. It's like, all right, I want that. I'm going to put the money out. We're going to get this done. It seems that this team is trying to build again through the farm system, which, I mean, I think Mike Rizzo, you still need that free agent. You still kind of need that Jason. You need almost, at this point where the team is at, you need that Jason Worth player just to bring people back into the fucking stadium.
See, that's where the problem comes. Because if you think of how the learners finance their teams, I mean, Jason Worth was the biggest, I wouldn't say bust, but it was the most expensive player they tried to get.
Served the purpose.
To a limited point.
He was an attractive force for a minute.
Yeah, but I mean, mind you, you're able to win divisional titles, but it didn't get you over the hump. You end up firing managers, still let go certain key players. Worth was one of them.
Yeah.
Bryce left because, again, financially, because you weren't able to keep him in a.
They lowballed Bud Black.
Yeah,
it's
mind you, winning that World Series over Houston because, one, everyone was looking at how they were cheating anyway. So, but still, you overcame something. The Nats overcame something to the point where finances weren't really the key picture here. Pretty much, you guys were balling on a budget in that 2019 World Series.
They had Soto on a contract that's ridiculous.
It was like you had certain guys, were on either rookie contracts or at least on the tail end. Rendon was one of them.
Yeah.
So you lucked out on that based off what is happening now because he just
doesn't like baseball.
Yeah, doesn't like. No, it's just a job for him. That's all. But to be honest with you, I think it's kind of weird to see the learners still wanting, especially Mark. I know Mark wants to keep it because he likes baseball.
They didn't get the Marlins sold for what? Damn near, what was it? Damn near $2 billion, maybe?
Yeah.
Close to, just under that, I think, somewhere around there. They thought the Nationals would get that.
So that is the
But
story here. Is that they put the team on the market and they didn't get an offer that they thought that they deserved.
Derek Jeter and the guys down in Miami are stupid.
But no, the thing with the Marlins is that they got a nice lucrative stadium that costs $1 billion.
Fair.
Nats,
David Sampson fleeced fucking Miami to do that. But also too, go back to a story we had a few weeks ago.
Right.
Why don't they got no fucking money? Dumbass TV deal. That's why I don't have any fucking money. Why they don't have any fucking money? Because owners don't use their own money to go buy stuff.
Right.
Unless it's like Cohen with the Mets, but even they have a fucking TV deal. Even they have a TV deal.
Yeah.
They use the money from TV deals to go and keep players at the very least.
Now, but here's the key thing. If the TV deal that is supposed to be ending,
You're saying that.
It's supposed to.
All right.
Why would the learners still hold control of the Nats then? What is the purpose?
Because they couldn't sell it for
so they couldn't sell it, or they feel like it's like
there's not. Who would want to buy it without the TV deal?
No,
who would come in on that?
It's not that. All right, look, what they paid for the team,
dirt cheap.
They got the team. They're making a giant profit on it.
Yeah.
This is the learners doing what they always do.
Yeah.
Is that they have a value that they have assessed that is not the market value. Okay? This is like, we think this is worth this because of what we love about it. I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm like that. Okay? I think that certain players are better than they are because I have some personal, affection for them or whatever. I think that buildings would be worth more than they actually are because I'm not looking at the dollars and cents. I'm doing it with my heart. That's why I'm not good at business. Okay? The learners also tend to do this. And I'm saying this as somebody who's been on the inside of this.
I don't think they don't give it luckily we won the World Series. They didn't give a damn if we won a World Series. I don't think they give a damn.
No, they wanted to win a World Series and they wanted to be a baseball team and they wanted to be a baseball family. And now they're thinking, look, this is a World Series winning franchise.
You should be able to sell it.
It's worth this much money. And if anybody comes in below that, they're disrespecting us. In the same way that they went to Bud Black and they said, we think you're worth this much money. And he said, you're out of your fucking mind. And they go, who are you? What do you mean we're out of our mind? You know, they lowballed Dusty.
Yeah.
And Dusty took it because he just wanted something to do. And he built them a team that ended up winning the World Series.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing about the way that they do things is they do business with their hearts. I am like that. I get it, but that is why I am not a businessman. That's not a good way to do
business
things.
with their wallets by not opening them. Like they don't open their wallets. They can afford to as well. Tyson's Corner seems okay. All right? It doesn't seem like it's struggling.
I just went to the light show.
Yeah, it seems okay.
They charged me for parking.
Of course they did, because they're tied into that too.
So like the
colonial folks.
Yes.
They're tied. It's all
yes.
Like they're
and red coats and all
strapped for cash.
Right.
They're not strapped for cash.
Right.
Soon they're gonna be asking for a new fucking stadium.
And Mad Max is playing for the Brewers or God knows who. Right. That is why.
So now they hang out for long enough. They're gonna ask the city for more money for stadium, like for either stadium.
The second they get a deal, they're gonna sell.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yes, I do think that.
They're gonna say, "Hey, we'll sell you a team that comes with the new stadium."
If the mass and shit gets figured out, that immediate sale happens.
If Richmond gets their shit together and moves the Caps to Washington or to Alexandria and leaves the district with no other major sports team besides the Nationals, they're going to be able to squeeze the stadium out of Muriel. They're going to get it. And the second they get it, they're going to sell.
That stadium's not even old.
No.
They got to redo what's there. It has to be done. They're going to get improvements there. And
they should have built a better stadium in the first place. Camden was built in 92. Nobody's talking about replacing Camden Yards.
Because it was set up that way. Look. Based off of how things are in that area, I go there consistently. Honestly, I really do not see any DC mayor, not if it's Murrow or not. I don't see this allowing the learners or whoever owns the Nats to try to bully them to make them build a new stadium, because really it's like that whole area is pretty much almost done.
Yeah, that's
and it's just like and really the only thing that
improvements they can make to the stadium, I think.
What improvements you got? Again, like you said, the stadium's not that old.
It's not.
So if I know it doesn't look comforting like Camden, but
right?
The thing is it's like
it looks like a pool deck.
Right.
Nothing will be that though, but also too like.
But it's convenient.
Low budget versions of Camden have been what. A lot of the rest of the stadiums have been built. Now, some are nice. Mm-hmm. Some are a lot nicer.
Right.
But I mean, that has been the friggin' model for stadiums since it's been built.
But Nats Park is not built to be an old school ballpark. It looks like...
What is?
Camden.
Give me something else. The outside of things that
nobody else. Again, here's
the outside of shit that's been there for 100 years.
True, but the thing is like, look, a lot of teams now are looking for
Petco, maybe.
Petco's okay.
I'll give you that.
Or better, actually, the better one I would say is San Francisco's.
Yeah,
San Francisco had.
That's the next stadium outside of Camden would be that.
Yeah.
So
I give Houston a little bit of credit too, because they turned Enron into something that people like.
Well, To me, it looks like a box.
I think you could ask for improvements to make the stadium experience similar to Petco. There's like a lot of shit you can do there. And the way baseball should survive is people gotta be able to do other shit. Like they're gonna be the
while
diehards.
baseball is happening.
Diehards are gonna be watching the shit. You gotta build.
Well, like I said, the area itself is convenient enough for a lot of fans to go around.
Sits on the fucking metro,
and all that stuff. And there's things to do in that little area. Hopefully, not another freaking gun shooting. But the thing is like, yeah. But the point is like, there's nothing wrong with that stadium. I just think it just looks dark and dinky.
And I think that's it. I think improvements can be done.
So they can slap a coat of paint on it, but what they could do is they could work out like a re-entry deal, right? They've got the sort of parking lot, not really parking lots, but like these open spaces with pop-ups and all that stuff. They can set up stuff for games. They can set up beer gardens. They can do all kinds of stuff and let fans kind of come in and out of the game.
They do that already.
Yeah, but you can.
It's not convenient.
You could make it easier to go in and out.
Like an extension of the stadium, everything around
they
that.
They could subsume Half Street and all that stuff, and they could.
Okay, have you been to that part?
Yeah.
Okay, so it already do that.
But you can't easily get in and out of Half Street and all that stuff.
Imagine if the pen was connected to the stadium.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Imagine if that all...
Or a
like
sky bridge that would take you right there, over to the trapeze shit.
Yeah, if you connect all that together. And that's where I think that the city would if they want to finance that. But also, hey, that football team is coming back to the city. That's going to happen. That is clear as day going to happen.
Go DC Defenders.
Yeah.
That is going to happen.
Well, rebuild RFK.
That's going to happen. That all that housing and shit there. No, fucking Republican. Blank on his name. Who fucking Muriel? Them two. They have a deal that is struck up that is going to get passed.
Who, Youngkin?
No, fucking Youngkin.
No, the deal with Muriel and Youngkin is we'll take the caps and the bullets to Virginia and we'll put the Redskins back in Washington.
I mean,
football team. Sorry,
I think that will get blocked. I think
Richmond's already blocking it.
I think that's going to get blocked.
Yeah, downstate don't like it.
And then, all right, we'll just forget money for anything else that makes sense. Put it all in our sports teams. Maybe they'll win, and then they'll bring prosperity back to the city. Maybe they'll win. Maybe.
Now you sound like me.
They'll win.
Speaking of which, I like airplanes. Do you like airplanes?
Yeah, when the doors don't explode.
Not as much as me though. I'm a really obsessed person when it comes to airplanes, right? Like I hear jet noise and I look up, even though I know all of the kinds of airplanes that fly over, right? Well, an interesting thing happened this week. Several jets crossed an incredible speed record. And specifically one of them took off from here. Or took off
coming here, right?
It was in the, if you look at the FAA map of like the regions, it was in the Washington DC region.
Yeah.
It crossed 800 and some odd miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's ground speed. So that's how fast it was going across the globe.
Yeah.
It does not mean it was going that fast in the air.
Right.
So it didn't break the sound barrier, didn't make a sonic boom, didn't shatter into a million pieces, which is definitely what would happen if a commercial airliner went that fast.
Fuck, your door exploding. The whole thing's in it.
So like commercial airliners sort of roughly go 575 miles an hour, a little shy of 600 miles an hour. The sound barrier is about 770. That's like the easy number to use. So like they're nowhere near it, and it's when you get close to the sound barrier that like things start shaking apart and whatever. And that's the airspeed at sea level. So what happened was the jet stream, which is a product of climate.
Still moving.
When the climate is more stable, the jet stream dips less. And it stays mostly up there by the Arctic Circle. But in this case, because the climate is super fucked, thanks to the Koch brothers and Clarence Thomas and God knows what else, it like dipped.
England.
Yeah, way to go, England. It dipped down and produced a tailwind. And several planes got caught up in this. So they were moving relative to the ground at an incredible speed. It was a Dreamliner, a 787, that hit 102 miles an hour. And then there was another one that hit 838 miles an hour. And there was even a 747 that hit like 826 miles an hour. So it's like super fast. But relative to the air that they're traveling in, it's not that fast because they're just being boosted by this tailwind.
I've had this happen on a red eye from San Francisco.
It usually happens going west to east.
Yeah,
never goes the other way.
Yeah, I had again the flight damn near got into Dulles like just under 4 hours
before it should have.
Yeah, it was very insane because even I was like, I kind of like dozed off and woke up and I was like, oh shit,
we shouldn't be landing.
We shouldn't be about to land. So it's kind of crazy when like the wind is propelling this jet that's already moving fast as shit through, like it's doing something that should not be done.
Well, it's how physics works.
It's how physics works. The fact that we done.
It's weird to think that hard about it. Yeah,
that a bus in the sky is moving that fast.
Was anybody arguing about where they were standing on that bus in the sky?
They dimmed the lights on the district
right, and everybody just took a sleep. Yeah.
You know, it was
nice and easy.
Yeah,
that's how we should do it on the buses. Though.
Exactly.
Just put
not
everybody
real.
to sleep. That's right. The sky bus.
The sky bus, man. It's the sky bus.
It's called an Airbus.
Oh, that's what we need to be buying. No, I'm just joking. Since our friends at Boeing have lost all quality control. It used to be a company. Oh God! Sorry. Okay. You know what?
I just want to.
We'll cease and desist.
No,
these are all my thoughts and opinions.
I just want to. My other, conditions notwithstanding, just from an airplane nerd perspective, the situation with the door plug on the 37 that blew off, that's a human error in not tightening or replacing the bolts that got taken off.
You know what's a human error? People you hire.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a failure of the design. It wasn't a failure of the metal. It wasn't a failure of the construction. It was a failure of the maintenance thereof.
Even more controllable.
Vastly more controllable.
Even more controllable.
And much less threatening to the rest of the fleet.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
You can just go around, check to make sure everything's tight, and then everybody's back in the air, and we're off and running. That one guy made a mistake. He's fired. Whatever.
So is there, what's the name? Isn't there the head of... Is that who you're talking about? The guy that just got out on there? Someone just took an L for in their executive.
I'll tell you about that offline. All right. This one is called "Is This a Legal Drama?" Apparently, there is a movie called Coyote versus Acme that we're never going to see. But I want to see it now. Is it actually a legal drama? Is that what it is, Brian? You added this to the script.
So apparently, this movie was completed, and it was supposed
to got Batgirled.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, Discovery Warner, and I'm calling Discovery Warner because Discovery is leading this dumbass horse.
Yep.
Has pretty much buried us for whatever reason.
Even though they got several offers from other
they had plenty
places to release
they were willing. Netflix,
Amazon, Paramount,
and Apple Plus were willing to buy it and air it. And for whatever reason, Discovery Warner did not want to pay them. And
or didn't want to even accept their money
at all. And like you said, it just like Batgirl, where this movie, Batgirl, was like 90% in post-production when the executives decided to shelve this. Here's where I cringe on things like this. Mind you, we all are Looney Tune fans.
Oh,
We've
for
seen
sure.
them, we love them, and all that stuff.
My kids love it.
Yes. And when we heard about the Coyote versus Acme, a lot of those in the geekdom world we're kind of giddy about it, and we're kind of wondering where
you
they
can
want
create
to
a dope
see this.
story, right? Like,
Yeah,
Is he suing Acme for
For-
faulty
There's
products?
a lot.
Right.
that
There's
you could do
so
with
much
that.
there.
There's a lot you could do
So
with that.
it would have been good. It would
It's
be a good
really
story.
funny. I'm already laughing.
Yes. So they already. Here's the funny thing: they've already had mild success with the live action, pseudo live action Tom and Jerry just a couple years ago.
Right.
So it didn't make sense for them.
And
not,
Space Jam.
and whatever. It's kind of whatever.
Real Space Jam.
So you hold this off for what? And that's really been the question. For the last about almost 3 years, 3.5 years, Discovery Warner merger has done a lot of bullshit whatevers. And this is like the second movie that a lot of people anticipating seeing, you block. And they have no explanations. They don't say anything. And if they do, they'll say it's, well, the numbers are not really there, whatever. They'll make up silly excuses. Pretty much, it's like the Discovery people are pretty much a lot of reality TV-based shows and stuff like that, those type of executives, for whatever reason, really do not understand the film industry business. And they're taking control of a movie company and blocking a lot of movies that, if they make red or not, it's fine to them. But for some odd reason, they want to, are afraid to push this out there.
What happens if, like, suppose they did release it and it, made a modest profit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that a problem?
That's the thing. A lot of movies, the checks and balances this. There's a lot of movies that a lot of movie companies put out there throughout the year, and everything else balances itself out. I think nowadays everyone expects every movie to be in the billion range.
Yes, that's exactly
the real problem.
But there's a thing called tent poles, right? Tent pole movies hold up the rest, and then everybody else makes underneath of that.
But
does that work in the streaming? Does that still work in streaming?
That's the other problem.
That's the question.
The streaming, the streaming aspect of it is kind of making things a little bit more difficult.
Do they know that kids stream the same movie 100 times in a row? Because that's definitely. How many times have you watched that Paw Patrol movie?
God damn it.
But here's the thing, though.
Propaganda at the highest level.
The only amount of money they're probably getting is whatever minor percentage they get from that month of you guys subscribing to that app or that streaming service. That's it. So instead of them going
it's not the same
of going to a movie theater
for the strike as well too, because of how you get paid on streaming, which is obviously the same even in music as well too. Versus like if your shit is syndicated and it's running on the air on television.
So this whole, like I said, this merger, this is like what I believe the third merger.
There's the issue. The
consolidation.
Yes,
there it is. Antitrust.
Right.
Lena Khan, where are you?
And that's the thing. It's like this, you're putting yourself in
that's
this,
not true. You've
in
done
this
a lot.
Weird marriage.
Teddy, where are you?
Yeah, you're putting yourself in this weird marriage. And here's the funny part. So I had
Batman and Sister Wives.
Yeah, I was part of another podcast where one of the guys who was like real good deep insider about this and informing me is like these two companies were already in debt.
Yes,
merging it together, and pretty much it's like how you and it threw me when he said they paid this merger debt with debt, and it's like how. This is bad business.
So how about this? Beltway Radio's in a little bit of debt, not nearly as much as these two, but could we sell that to Discovery for the Looney Tunes? Because we would love to run that.
They'll probably deny you.
Well, I'll cancel all of the shows besides ChipChat and just run Looney Tunes.
That is recorded.
420 will have something.
That is recorded on the air.
Not if we're making money, they won't.
I don't agree. Well, actually, never mind. He said that part. I think we all can agree with that.
Yo, we'll make that on the side. We'll keep producing that as we'll make a whole nother network called Beltway 2.
Based off of the money that
Real talk. We'll have some
real talk in Looney Tunes. It'll be a great show.
No, I mean,
we're gonna put Bugs on with Tony Kiki.
Oh yeah, even the voice, the new voice for the Looney Tunes characters. He even complained.
Is it Billy West? Who's
it's I forgot his name. But he kind of mentioned it at a very well-known award show, and because he feels like it makes no sense to where for Discovery Warner to do this again, let alone it's not the first time. This is again, and not really explaining yourself because you already claiming the fact it's like, oh, we got this new, DC universe thing we got going, and we got some really hot movies coming on, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, we get that, but still, you already got stuff that's already been greenlit, put it out there just to get some money going. But no, you want to be doing this hokey dokey shit.
I don't understand what it hurts them to put it out.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're not saying
that.
anything.
To your point of they want these things to be mega hits, I think it comes down to dollars and cents that they don't want to. If it doesn't do what they expect it to do, it's not worth taking a chance on it. They're not going to take a chance.
No, that's the thing. That is the new whatever these modern day new mindsets is. And
why do we keep doing remakes?
The remake, but again, having a remake is far worse of a risk than doing something that's original. Because with a remake, I think you're already anticipating.
I agree, but
you're already anticipating with we got these new actors, new young actors with an old story, but we're going to modify it, blah blah blah. But then again, those who are already understand the original, seen the original, not gonna like this new version, even though your claim is like, "Oh, this is for our new generation."
Yeah, but they're gonna go see it.
Because I don't know, King Kong got a Thanos arm I saw on the Super Bowl. And I don't know, man.
It's like the 30th King Kong movie.
My man, Big Godzilla is out there, and we go.
Yeah, he's going pink. It's
hey,
like
look, I don't know.
But again, the Coyote is just like Coyote versus Acme. I think. This here,
I want to see this.
Yes, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be more and more protesters. There is hashtags, save Coyote Acme and all that stuff. Put it out there, all of that. But the real thing is like you have to fully pressure Discovery Warner constantly to get this shit out and really demand. Like you said, we just got out of a writer's strike and an actor strike, and this shit you're doing is going to make another strike happen again.
All right, I will help by continuing my boycott of all things Sister Wives, which I don't care about.
This is another reason why I don't get Max, because they are vaccine stupidity.
I'm not. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't watch anything on these.
I can't believe they destroyed HBO.
Well, that's a whole nother show.
Crazy. Something that made great television for great shows.
I think they can still make great television.
Not if this not in this merger.
Not if they won't let the Coyotes sue the Acme.
Real Sports with Brian Gumbo. Gone. Great show.
It was time for him.
I mean, it was time for him. Christ, no other host could come on and write. There's great stories that were told on there.
Brian. Could have been Bryant Gumbo to Brian.
Real Sex. Great show. Great show.
We have that show on our network now. Yeah, BAM's on Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yeah. Seductive Tales and Slow Jams.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great show. You should tune in.
To tune in.
All right, speaking of legal dramas, Dateline, Atlanta. Fonnie Willis is in trouble because her boyfriend is one of the prosecutors or something.
Yeah, I mean, this was there's only one piece of this story I want to talk about.
Okay.
And is this cash thing, because I thought that was really illuminating just to how
the way that they were talking about it.
Yeah, and I just love it. Puts one of those interesting divides in this country where most folks would say, well, if you're hell bent on paying all this stuff on cash, you got to be covering something up. Whereas, as she stated with her father, and this is in I'd say in the black community, I think some in just immigrant communities as well too, but specifically in the black community in this country, the fraught relationship with banking.
Don't trust the banks.
Even to our own detriment. Even to our own detriment. But and I know people are going back to slavery, but I think there's a huge tie-in to Reconstruction, the Freedmen's Bureau, what happens with the Freedmen's Bureau Bank, how the money is lost, the people who profited off of that bank, and the sour taste that has been left in Black Americans' mouths from that specific point to her saying and I think also just as well to her being a black woman and like these lessons that were told by her father and like, hey, you need to have X amount of cash on hand. You need like paying for stuff in cash is
pay for your own shit.
And
don't accept anything from anybody else because they could hold it against you later.
Right.
And also, like, don't trust the banks. I get it.
I think it's so.
If you're black in America and don't trust the banks, that kind of makes sense.
And it was so. When I heard it, I was like, "Oh, this is just it was a very relatable story to me."
But that's why white America is like, oh, well, she's clearly covering some shit up.
Exactly. I thought.
What do you mean you don't trust the banks? I put my money in the bank and it's fine.
I've
never had any trouble. Yeah, that's
I
right.
love the police.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When I call them, they're so responsive and they help me get my cat out of the tree.
I want to add.
I just think that the
White
whole,
man Brian wants to.
No.
That's the piece of this case that I found. I thought she was very skillful. You could just tell that she's a career prosecutor.
She was also mad as fuck.
Which, yes.
See, that's where I want to get to.
Yeah.
I'm in the stance of it's like, what the fuck are you? What is this really all about? Because you pretty much want to, again, we all know this is just a delay tactic.
Sure.
You're trying to find something wrong here, but really there isn't.
She's not on trial.
Even though true, she's not.
That's
but
not
again,
the person
but based off of how this presented, it just, to me, it seems like she is. But I just feel like this is so stupid. And this is your typical Trump stupidity. And I feel like with the lawyers that he has, just putting this out there, and it's like, what? So again, about money, about a dude, if did he live here or not? At the time you had this building, but then you were over here. And I was just like, does it really fucking matter?
It doesn't, and that's the thing, is that they're not interested in the actual outcome of any of this. They're just interested, even if what comes back out of all of this weirdness about Fonnie Willis and her relationship with the prosecutor or whatever. If the judge goes, all right, nothing to see here, move on.
Right.
And it took 3 weeks to get there, that's good for them.
Perfect.
That's all they wanted.
Yeah.
But all they're doing
to me,
is buying time.
But the thing is like, I would have thrown this out a long time ago. Meaning it's like, what are we doing? Why do we need to go into someone's personal life?
Due process, conflict of interest.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, as much as you say that, but then again, it's like, does that really matter here? I mean, it's like, does this really affect the case at some point in time? Because all she's doing is like, look,
the argument.
There was no evidence that that their relationship has affected the case.
The argument they're making, it's not that the relationship affects the case. It's that she is benefiting from him being employed by the DA's office, and therefore by her bringing the case and dragging out the case, she is giving him money, which he's then funneling to her, and this is some sort of self-enrichment scheme. That's what they're going after.
The stuff they do.
The stuff that they physically do all the time and keep getting caught for. It is stupid on its face, and the timelines don't line up, but we do live in a rule of law, and this is one of the things where, like, yeah, this is stupid, but we got to play the game and check the boxes and do the thing, because in order for us to hold it up as unassailably true, the conviction, whatever it comes to, we have to be able to say that we did everything above board. And if there's some question of impropriety, stupid as it is, we got to squash it, but we have to do it through the due process and the judicial system as it stands.
Okay, so then isn't there an ethics committee? Because isn't that what's that?
No, it goes through the judge. The judge is going to have to be the one to decide if there's a conflict of interest. That's literally their job here. It's all going to sort out, right?
But it should. Okay, I know it's going to sort out, but I feel like the judge, as much as he would like to hear everything, I just feel like I'm in a position, if I was the judge, it's like, what the fuck is this all about?
How much stronger is the case after the judge hears all of their nonsense to try to discredit it and still lets it carry forward. Because whether Fonnie and Wade are like in some sort of relationship that they shouldn't be in, and it's self-enriching, whatever, it doesn't change the facts of the law, which is that Trump tried to change the outcome of the election. And so the judge can then appoint a special prosecutor to continue this case, and the law, not the prosecutor, not the judge, not Fonnie Willis, not her boyfriend or anybody else, the law puts Donald Trump in jail. That's the way that this is supposed to work, is that the law, the rule of law, not the rule of man, not the rule of an individual person,
I get that,
but the rule of law puts him in there. So you should be able to change out the prosecutor. Oh, there's an impropriety here. All right, take her out, let the facts carry. It is what it is. Same like changing drivers in a car. The car is the thing that does the winning, right?
I understand that aspect, but again, I just feels like this is a waste of time.
It is.
Especially for the judge, especially for everything else. It's like, look, if you assume there's a conflict of interest, then separate that and then continue with the normal process. I don't care.
But it has to be adjudicated legally.
I don't think so, because the thing is like all it does is like there is a delay here.
Yes.
And as much as I know full well that judge is whoever's judging the Trump case, realizing the fact this is some bullshit.
Yes.
And this delay tactic does not help.
Yes.
So either it's like, okay, let's separate that aside, get a new prosecutor in, and keep it moving.
Part of the thing about due process and rule of law is that even when things are ridiculous, you have to let them play out.
You're allowed to delay these. Like those are.
If there's a delay, here's the thing.
Those are strategies that are being used.
You can appeal on whatever verdict you get from your trial. This, all it is to me is like Willis was looking at.
But we can't get a clean verdict if we think there's a conflict of interest.
If there's even,
that's why I think, like I said, keep that separate and have an ethics committee.
But the judge has to rule that there's no conflict of interest for it to go forward. I personally have benefited from similar things like this, right? Every time I've gotten a traffic ticket.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay? Every time you get a ticket in Virginia, you got to pay a court cost.
Yeah.
Regardless of even if you just pay the fine, right? Yeah, you got me speeding, whatever. You got to pay a $52 court cost.
Legal tax.
That is not a court cost. That is a microphone rental fee. You have to pay it regardless. You are entitled to that microphone in that courtroom. And you can say whatever you want into that microphone, and they have to listen to it and record it. And I have used that opportunity at several opportunities, not to restate the same word. I have used that chance to say whatever I want, as ridiculous as it might be, several times to several judges. Sometimes it works in my favor, most of the time not. But I'm paying for it anyway.
Might as well show up.
Might as well show up and might as well make a case. What we're talking about here is that in order to put somebody away for doing something wrong, even if it's dead to right, you cannot have any shadow of impropriety. And so if there is that shadow of impropriety, it is worth adjudicating that to the fullest extent, to the most ridiculous extent, to the furthest extreme extent that you could possibly manage, to say, we went above and beyond what was required and still found that this is sound and legitimate, and bury that motherfucker under the jail. That's what we're doing here. And shout out to the good people in Georgia for following through with this. And Governor Kemp for keeping his fucking nose out of it.
Yeah.
All right, you hear that music?
Yeah.
That means it's time to end the show.
Early.
Yeah, we're early. Thanks to our radio partners, AFRN, the USO, and InfoWars. Thanks to NOTN. Yeah, for keeping us on for another week, maybe. We don't know. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as the defense in the All-Star game.
Woo! The big 200.
211 points. Wow.
Who cares? It's a fake game.
Yeah. Well.
Oh.
God. Oh, all right.
Wow.
That's a Sunday show.
Oh my.
Fake sports for those who didn't see it.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Brian's. You know what's on No Filter next week.
We know what's going to happen now.
All right.
Tune in.
Where can everybody get you on the socials and things?
If you're on the social media, you should go ahead and find me on Instagram at Catch 'em Cordy. If you're mulling about on X, where you can find my new show, InfoWars, you should look for me at DC Cortez. And if you ever caught me on that flaming liberal site, Blue Sky, you'd find me at DC Cortez as well. Turn the Frogs Game.
I can't possibly follow that.
Heard my voice.
ChipChat at Rip ChipChat. You can figure out the rest of it. I'm Chip That Says. You've been listening to ChipChat on Poetry Radio and beyond. See you later.